تكون فيها وظيفة اليد اليسرى الجاب، وهو الإعداد للكم الكروس أو اللكمة الصاعدة اليمنى أو اللكمات الهوك بعد البناء لها بالجاب أو باللكمة المستقيمة القياسية. ويوجد لدينا أيضا وضعية الساوث بو، والتي يكون فيها اليد اليسرى أو اليد اليمنى عفوا والرجل اليمنى أقرب إلى الخصم، واليد اليسرى في الأبعد للشخص الأعصر الدومينانت with left hand. لا زال هذا اللقاء القوي في الدقيقة الأولى ونصف من زمن الشوط الثاني أو الجولة الثانية في هذا النزال القوي الذي يجمع سيدات آسيا. لدينا لاعبة طويلة ولاعبة قصيرة، وفن التعامل بين كلا الملاكمين القصير للطويل، وكذلك كيفية التعامل للاعب الطويل أيضا مع اللاعب القصير، وكيف يتوجب عليه اللكمة باستمرار والبعد واستخدام الحلقة بشكل جيد وتوزيع الهجمات. ما رأيك سيد حمد أيضا في المشاركة النسائية؟ تكاد سيدات آسيا جنبا إلى جنب في نفس المستوى الرجالي، على ماذا يدل ذلك؟
والله نفس ما قلت لك أخوي محمد أن البطولة بدأت نارية وهي مستمرة نارية كما نشاهد الآن، يعني ما شاء الله في اليوم الختامي ومن الجولة الأولى والثانية ما شاء الله مستويات قوية جدا جدا جدا. يعني
نعيد التذكير بالمباراة الأولية أو الافتتاحية للاعبة جولازال، وقد لعبت مع اللاعبة سريلانكية وتفوقت عليها وفازت بنتيجة 5-0. وفي الدور الثاني لعبت مع جوس جاباكو وفازت عليها بنتيجة
And Andy, you can see why it was such a close contest first time around between the pair. Just the 1 point separated them on that occasion. And it's a clash of styles, very much a contrast in styles. You can see the range and height of BALKIBEKOVA, but the energy and pressing style of SULTONALIEVA. So it really is a contrast in styles, and you can see why that would make it competitive, but also perhaps quite difficult to score.
Absolutely, 5 scoring judges ringside. It's never the easiest job to separate fighters over the course of this night format of 3 3-minute rounds, as you say there. You had, generally speaking, was BALKIBEKOVA trying to keep the distance, keep the range, keep SULTONALIEVA off the way in. SULTONALIEVA front foot looking to try and make things happen. It's all about effective punching and accurate scoring punches.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by split decision in the blue corner representing Kazakhstan.
It just looked like she got her boxing together in that final round. She was able to find a little bit of room, bit of space, maybe some of the steam going out of the attacks of SULTONALIEVA. It was pretty competitive and close, it looked like, through the first couple of rounds, but a bit more of that distance punch picking from BALKIBEKOVA in the third round, and just created a space to get her shots off. And I think that maybe just created a little bit of a gap on the scorecards as well. And in doing so, a little bit of revenge from that World Championship defeat last time. It's another success for Kazakh. They're so well represented in both the men's and women's at this particular event, and plenty of opportunities later on in the night as well, with 9 of the 10 weight divisions represented by Kazakh boxers tonight in the women. So it is success right from the off for them.
Women's fly, 51 kilograms. Referee in the ring is representing Romania. Judges are from Singapore, United Arab Emirates, Bulgaria, Egypt, and Croatia. In the red corner representing India, MERY.
So we head into the women's flyweight division. And heading into the red corner, Alex, a very, very familiar figure, the legend that is MERY, 38 years old now. And really, if you run through all of the things that she's won, then we'll be here up until the opening bell.
It would be easier to say what she hasn't done in boxing so far, and everyone needs heroes or heroines, and MERY has been a trailblazer, not just for women's boxing, but I think for women's boxing in India. And you were out in Poland recently as well, and I think you can start to see the fruit of her labours being borne out in international competition. And we've got, again, lots of Indian representation, both in the men's and the women's. And largely, I think it's fair to say that MERY is the reason for that. She up against NAZYM KYZAIBAY tonight. She's got plenty of experience and titles on her way herself. She is a world champion, let's not forget too. So this is a difficult assignment for MERY at the age of 38 now, and I think coming into this she's been talking about the fact that she's not had much competition. There will be an element of ring rust, perhaps lacking the sharpness that she would have done in previous years. So that just affords an opportunity for KYZAIBAY in the blue. A respectful nod of appreciation. Lots of quality in this one. And KYZAIBAY, of course, who is 11 years younger. I wonder, going into this first round, if that's going to make any sort of difference.
You mentioned the kind of lack of practice, really, that Com's had recently. She boxed at the Bantam tournament not that long ago, but that was the first action she'd had after about a year out. Sparring partners were testing positive at stages. We all know the problems, unfortunately, that India's experiencing at the moment. This competition was supposed to be in Delhi originally and has been moved at short notice to Dubai. Com just looking for that southpaw backhand.
And landed it right off. And already you can see the quality and the class from Mary Kom. Already the distance between her and KYZAIBAY, who lands a nice right hand to the body. One of the beauties of elite sports in these championships, I think over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years, is the amount of body shots that are now weaving into play. KYZAIBAY trying to close the gap here, and this is going to be a really interesting one. Good first minute. Com settled behind her boxing. Now KYZAIBAY starting to read things a little better, starting to apply a little bit of pressure here too, Andy.
She's just got the slight physical advantages, hasn't she, of the two? She's a bit more height, got a little bit more reach, come with those kind of raiding missions. 6-time world champion, 5-time Asian champion, Commonwealth Games gold medalist, Asian Games winner, London 2012 bronze medalist. She's made it through to Tokyo as well. Just got caught by a couple on the way in there, though, and that's what KYZAIBAY is looking to try and do, isn't it? She knows that Com's going to try and bring those feet in nice and quick, rattle off a combination, and then get back out.
And actually, what you've seen in the second minute, it has been a round of 2 halves, isn't it? KYZAIBAY just taking that little half step back to make Com guess, to make her reach, and trying to punish her too. So, as we expected coming into this one, lots of technique, plenty of talent, and the grey matter for both these ladies working overtime as well. Very much a thinking fight, this one, a good start to it as well.
Com, the #1 seed, got past Lutsaikan, Altinset Mongolia in the semi-finals. KYZAIBAY beating Pushpakumari of Sri Lanka. Referee stopping that one in the first 3 standing counts, and then he decided that was enough with about 10 seconds to go. Closing stages of round 1 here.
And you can see why. A couple of body shots, the right uppercut she just landed a moment or 2 ago as well. And KYZAIBAY, I think, is warmed up into this one. She's starting to grow in confidence. She's got better as the round has gone on. Good start. And this might be just potentially one of the bouts of the night, given the talent that is on offer. And I suppose that boxing fans will be asking the question, how much longer can Mary Kom go on? How much more can she perform at the very top level, given her age? But what a trailblazer she's been in the sport. And you only have to look at the recent success for India at the recent youth championships in Poland. And he was across there watching and commentating and all of that, as we see some of the excellent action from that first round. And the next generation of Mary Koms are already on their way.
It was extraordinary, the showing from the women in particular in the World Youth. They had 7 finalists on finals day, and they all won, every single one of them. And that's a testament not just to the ability, but the kind of, that's a cultural thing too, isn't it? You've got that culture of winning. They all expected to go out there and do the business, and as they were all winning, we were thinking to ourselves, me and Ron McIntosh, God, you're not going to want to be the first one to lose, are you? But then they all just had this laser focus and got the win. Come with a good stiff left hand there, as KYZAIBAY looks to come out quite aggressive at the start of round 2.
And as she did at the start of the first round, Mary Kom looking sharp, getting in and out with those raiding taxis. Good jab there from KYZAIBAY. Never an easy punch to land against the southpaw. She followed it up with a right hand to the body as well. You can see why that took her to World Championship success a few years ago in 2015. She's picked up a couple of bronze medals in the Worlds as well, so plenty of experience for both of these boxers coming into this one.
Nice quick hands there from Com. That's what she's looking to do. As you said, just dips in, closes that gap down, let go with a 1-2, and then just pulled those feet back. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and India really dominating the finals. Kazakhstan have got 9 finalists, Uzbekistan 6, India 4. Nice combination though there from KYZAIBAY. As Com just got her feet stuck a little bit, and KYZAIBAY's having a good round here in the second midway through.
Yes, and there's a 3 or 4 punch combination there. Again, she lands a heavy shot, and Com comes back with a jab of her own. You do sense that KYZAIBAY is just growing into this one, and maybe in terms of punch power, she looks to be landing the heavier shots. And exactly, Andy, the right punch to throw. The right hand has been the punch both to the body and to the head for KYZAIBAY. She's landed it again, exactly the shot you want to be throwing against the southpaw.
Com just losing her balance a little bit as she came forward there. The way she throws that right's interesting too, isn't it? Because quite often it's kind of like a right-hand lead. Or she'll throw it and just move straight onto the shoulder, move straight in behind it, which makes it difficult to counter or really do anything about it. KYZAIBAY just trying to just rough Com up a little bit on the inside there.
And I think she might have hurt her with a body shot there. Just momentarily, Com seemed to lose her shape. There's a body shot, gets through again. She was off balance when it landed, Com, but there's no doubt, I think, that the punch-picking power and strength of KYZAIBAY is just starting to pose some problems and ask questions of the veteran, multiple champion MERY. Then again, she shows the right hand to the body, KYZAIBAY. That was a good round for her.
So 2 rounds in, 1 remaining in this flyweight final. This one of the Olympic weights, of course, has been since London 2012, one of the now 5 Olympic weights. Com has qualified, she's through. Hot in the arena, always hot under those lights up in the ring.
Well, as good as Com has been, Andy, throughout her career, I must admit I'm impressed with the performance of KYZAIBAY tonight. The way she's, look at that, beautiful punch picking, and any young would-be boxer should just look at the footwork. Eyes on her opponent as well, just taking that little half step back. She picked the right hand, took another half step back, and there was a counter left. There's some shots landing in and amongst that skirmish from Com as well. Here we go then into the final round, and I wonder how the judges are seeing this one. I've been impressed by KYZAIBAY, but as ever, really good stuff on show from 2 talents.
Well, MERY of India in the red, NAZYM KYZAIBAY of Kazakhstan in the blue. Kazakhstan have already had a win in the opening fight at light flyweight. BALKIBEKOVA victorious over SULTONALIEVA of Uzbekistan. 30 seconds into this final round. It could be teed up at 1 apiece, this. We've got 5 scoring judges ringside, of course, all using the 10-point must. And you can score rounds 10-9, 10-8 or 10-7. A knockdown does not automatically result in a 10-8 round. It's all about interpreting dominance. Judges are looking for punches delivered to the target area, which is the head or the torso, with the knuckle part of the glove. They're very strict about that. You'll see judges speak to fighters about slapping, basically, punching with the inside of the glove. That's one of the things that they're very, very hot on. Nice sneaky short left hand there, straight up the middle from Com. Decent counter right hand there, though, from KYZAIBAY, who just kind of leans in a little bit there, offers the head to Com, turns southpaw here, KYZAIBAY as well.
Yeah, she's looking sharper again, Com, in this final round. Maybe the second wind, maybe the finishing post inside, incentivised. A little bit better from her at the start of this final round, and certainly KYZAIBAY had a bit of a squeaker, didn't she, in the first round? There was only a point in it on every single one of the scorecards. She managed to just pip her opponent there, Rakhimova, by 3-2 on that occasion. Comfortable, as Andy said, with a stoppage victory in the semi-finals. And this one's been pretty competitive all the way throughout. But I have been impressed by KYZAIBAY. You mentioned punches landing on the target, and I suppose weight of punch you tend to think about as well. And I think the weight of punch throughout has definitely favoured KYZAIBAY.
100%, good example of it there. She just planted her feet nice and wide, worked the body and the head, and Com just flitting around the outside at times. But KYZAIBAY has slowed her down with some decent, fairly heavy artillery, I think. Turned southpaw there, KYZAIBAY as well. Physically, as we look at them side on there is quite a big difference between these two. I mentioned it at the start, but it's playing more of a part, I think, as the fight goes on. That's a good body attack there from KYZAIBAY. Com just moved in, was looking to let her hands go, and may have thrown some scoring punches herself up top, but KYZAIBAY countered to the body nicely. So we'll wait and see what the judges have made of that 3 rounds. From where we're sitting, we will probably side with the blue corner, I would say.
I was impressed by KYZAIBAY. You know, if you're a national champion in Kazakhstan, you're world class. I say it's very, very straightforward, and she's been a 6 times national champion. So she is among the best in the world, and at the age of 27, I think she's only going to get better. So good performance from both of them. Here we go.
The winner by split decision in the blue corner representing Kazakhstan.
KYZAIBAY gets the nod over the hugely experienced and multi-talented MERY. So good they've made films about her. As you see the scorecards, it was pretty tight by and large. 3 points on one of the scorecards, only a point in it on every other card there, Andy. No surprise that it was pretty tight, but I think KYZAIBAY earned it in the end, and she's going to be a threat to everyone, I think, in every tournament she takes part in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you mentioned, she's had decent success. 2014, 2016 world champion at 48 kilos, and kind of disappeared a little bit over the last few years, but now very much back in contention. And a split decision. It was a tight fight. I think we were probably thinking that Com might have nicked the first round, and then KYZAIBAY was looking favourite to take rounds 2 and 3. But she will take some beating physically, as we mentioned. For a 51 kilo fighter, she packs a hell of a lot into that 51 kilos.
Yeah, she's good, she's strong. I like the way, after a sketchy start, MERY got off to a blistering start. First 30 seconds, minute of the first round. I like the way that KYZAIBAY suddenly started to think about what she was doing, and it was her footwork that started to impress. She was buying herself a bit of time. She was starting to counter. Her punches were sharp, they were pretty heavy to the head and body, and you can see why she stopped her opponent in the semi-final, and you can see why she's overcome such an experienced Com in that encounter. Sport really flourishing out in the Emirates these days, in all walks of life, I think it's fair to say, and boxing no different. Gyms starting to flourish over here in this part of the world, and more Emirati boxers as well, which wasn't the case a few years ago. So that's something that's developing.
54 kilograms. Referee in the ring is representing United Arab Emirates. Judges are from Egypt, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey, Ireland and Slovakia. In the red corner representing Kazakhstan, DINA ZHOLAMAN.
So the bantamweight division, 54 kilos, are making her way to the ring. Here is another Kazakh fighter, DINA ZHOLAMAN, the #1 seed, 2016 world champion in her home country. I was at that competition. Took place shortly before the Olympic Games. It was the final qualifier.
SITORA SHOGDAROVA.
And in the blue corner, we've got Uzbekistan. This is SITORA SHOGDAROVA. So this is another Kazakhstan versus Uzbekistan battle. As I said, we've got a good number of those, 5 in total throughout the course of these finals. Kazakhstan with 2 gold medals out of 2 from the 2 fights we've
seen up until this point. So ZHOLAMAN, Kazakhstan, the #1 seed in red, and SHOGDAROVA of Uzbekistan in blue. Just 20 years old, so 8 years younger than ZHOLAMAN. This is her first Continental Championships as a senior, 2019 national champion. So she doesn't have all that much experience at this kind of level. ZHOLAMAN has a lot more. I mentioned that world title, quarterfinals in the Asian Championships and the World Championships in 2019. ZHOLAMAN, though, squeezed through in her semi-final, needed a bout review against Sakshi of India, lost 3-2 originally, and they asked for it to be reviewed, the Kazakhstan team. Basically, if you lose 3-2, it has to be 3-2. You can't do it if it's 4-1 or 5-0. You can ask for a bout review. You have to make that request quickly, within 15 minutes, then they'll decide whether they're going to review it. It's not a given that they will, and then if they do, it goes to the jury, and they decided to overturn that one. I felt sorry for Sakshi because it was a really close fight. I watched it, and at the end it could have gone either way, and when you get one that you know could go either way, I think it would have been a fairly bitter pill for her to swallow, Sakshi, to be honest with you, to see that one taken away from her. But that's the way it goes. Top level competition, that is the way it goes sometimes. So we've got ZHOLAMAN there of Kazakhstan in the red in the orthodox stance, SHOGDAROVA of Uzbekistan boxing out of the southpaw stance in the blue, and just banging away to the body there, ZHOLAMAN. The referee just having a word with SHOGDAROVA about trapping the arm on his blind side, but it kind of worked for ZHOLAMAN because with the free arm she just rattled away to the body. She is again there. She'll want to get this up close and personal. Here's ZHOLAMAN. She's that kind of fighter. Gets caught by a jab on the way in, and just looking at these early stages, Alex, that's what SHOGDAROVA's got to do, isn't it? She can't just allow herself to be swarmed by ZHOLAMAN. She's got to try and snap out that jab, catch her on the way in, and give her something to think about. And
it looked like she was managing to do that early on. SHOGDAROVA's managing to keep her at arm's length with that southpaw jab. Her footwork has been pretty good as well. You've got that rare beast, haven't you? You've got an orthodox Kazakh fighter, which so many of them are southpaws. That's a rarity in itself. It's actually the Uzbek fighter who's fighting out of the southpaw stance. I think on balance, what we've seen through the first couple of minutes, that range and southpaw stance seems to be helping him working.
Again, just holding out that lead hand there, SHOGDAROVA, then looking to try and shoot the left straight down the middle. Had it cocked and ready to go there, but didn't launch it. ZHOLAMAN is just a little bit more circumspect now, not quite as eager to rush into the final minute of round one. You do see a lot of southpaws in top international competition, that is for sure. Just short with that long left hand there, SHOGDAROVA, but didn't really chase it, just brought it back. Head's almost coming together there as ZHOLAMAN just with a slightly frustrated look on her face there, right at the end of the round. A couple of times she did manage to get close and look to try and work the body with that left hand, and you almost knew, well, we knew from watching them through the course of the week, but when you see these kinds of fighters with the physiques and the statures that they got, Alex, you think you know what you're going to get, and that's turned out to be the case, because for ZHOLAMAN the task is fairly clear, which she needs to try and do, and you could say the same about SHOGDAROVA.
Yeah, and with her, you'd like to think with her experience and pedigree, medals and national championships left, right and centre, that she'll perhaps have a plan B or be able to adapt and find a way. But on what we saw through the first round, it was definitely SHOGDAROVA whose range and technique was managing just to buy her some some distance and space, and she was able to keep ZHOLAMAN largely at bay and largely keep her quiet. Are we going to see a change in the play? Will the experience of ZHOLAMAN start to bear in the second round?
Just come straight in behind her right hand there. Balance wasn't great, but she moved onto the shoulder. Nice left hand there, though, straight left hand from SHOGDAROVA. She's in the blue, boxing for Uzbekistan. ZHOLAMAN of Kazakhstan, the #1 seed, is in the red. Referee just having a quick word about holding to the pair of them there. You don't want a point deducted in a 3-round fight. A point deduction can be near fatal, really. Letting go with a long, loose backhand there, a left-hand SHOGDAROVA. Again, just didn't quite manage to find the target. You just see that kind of fast twitch movement there from ZHOLAMAN, and then just springs in looking to lead off with the left hook. Didn't really land clean. Head movement on the way in, feints are absolutely essential for her. Well, SHOGDAROVA will be able to pick her off on the way. And again, she just kind of throws that long backhand. That's an interesting one, that, isn't it? Because that's a weapon for a southpaw. It's amazing how often that seemingly quite straightforward backhand just seems to bewitch opponents, orthodox opponents, and gets through. But she can be a little bit lazy with it sometimes. It kind of falls in after it. So whilst it's a strength, it's sometimes a little bit of a weakness, and ZHOLAMAN doing some good work there.
I think there's a slight change in the play here, Andy, and just a very subtle change in approach from ZHOLAMAN. She's just trying to not commit, and she's basically asking SHOGDAROVA to lead off. So she's just holding her feet, she's asking SHOGDAROVA to lead off, then she's looking to make the second press and attack, and I think she's starting to get a little bit of success. So with all her experience, we wondered in between rounds if she in a corner, Alexander Vysotsky is in that corner, whether they'd able to react, come up with a plan. I think they've managed to do it throughout this second round.
Just having a little bit of a wrestle heading into the third and final minute. Those kinds of clinches can be important, and ZHOLAMAN just gets SHOGDAROVA into a headlock there and drags her down a touch. The referee gives her a slight telling off for that, but just managing to impose yourself at close quarters there, although it's not really going to count for anything in the judge's eyes. It can matter. Again, let it go with the left hand there, SHOGDAROVA, and that's kind of what I was talking about. She missed with it. Well, ZHOLAMAN made a miss and looked to try and throw her own right. Well, this is set up nicely, you would say, heading into the third and final round. These are two well-matched fighters. Just caught slightly square there again, SHOGDAROVA in no man's land, and when that happens, ZHOLAMAN has got the wherewithal to get on top of it. So interesting round that, as you say. I make absolutely right with the comments you made there in the final minute. And when they went back to their corners there, you'd probably rather be in a red corner, wouldn't you, at the minute? I
think that was just it wasn't a huge round for ZHOLAMAN, but it was just a subtle change in the play. She wasn't overcommitting. She was just holding her feet, feinting, asking SHOGDAROVA to commit first, and then she was countering herself sharply, and she was working the body pretty well when they got up close too. I think that was a really intelligent change of the play. It wasn't a huge notable round on the cards, but I thought it was enough of a change in the play for ZHOLAMAN to set up a really interesting finale now.
So into the third and final round. This is the women's final in the Asian Championships at Bantamweight. DINA ZHOLAMAN of Kazakhstan, the #1 seed, she's in the red. SITORA SHOGDAROVA of Uzbekistan is in the blue. SHOGDAROVA, who got past Michidmar of Mongolia by split decision, 4-1 in the semi-final. She's the less experienced of these two by some margin, but she's given a decent account of herself so far. Again, with that long left hand, that one just about did reach that time. Just chipping away to the body on the inside there as well. SHOGDAROVA. Both of them just closing down that space a little bit too quickly. Fencing with that lead hand. She doesn't really jab all that much, Shogdarova, which is a shame when you consider the physical advantages she's got. She uses that lead hand as a rangefinder, really, doesn't she? Rather than snap it out and try and bounce it off the head of ZHOLAMAN and employ it as a real scoring shot. Again, piled in with the left hand, followed it in there. Again, the weight came forward a bit too much, but she went straight onto the shoulder. Bit messy, this final round so far.
Not easy to score, Andy. No, not at all. I thought the start of it was pretty much more of what we'd seen previously. A couple of shots there off the break. I suspect that Shogdarova and plenty more before her have looked at DINA ZHOLAMAN and thought, right, yeah, I know exactly what I've got to do to beat this lady. I think once you get in there, it's a slightly different scenario entirely. She's a bundle of energy. First round, it was perhaps too much without the creativity. There was that change in the play in the second round. Here, it looks like just maybe Shogdarova is starting to get behind one or two of those rangy, distant shots again. Not an easy final round, I think, for the judges to score this one.
It was a nice one too there from Shogdarova, right on cue. She just snapped down the middle, and increasingly she's looking to try and throw that single shot, maybe a couple of punches, and then just move in and smother ZHOLAMAN and close her down. There is not much in this at all heading into the final 30 seconds. Kazakhstan looking for a third consecutive gold medal. We've already seen them at 48 and 51 kilos. Nice combination there though from ZHOLAMAN, and just looking to cover up a little bit there, Shogdarova. And whoever has a good finish here, that could be enough to take it. And both of them just holding on, the referee giving them plenty of time there to try and work it out themselves. But as you've been saying, this final round, not the easiest one in the world to score. I wouldn't really like to say which way that one's going to go. ZHOLAMAN with a little bit of a celebration there in the Kazakhstan corner. Slightly more muted there for Uzbekistan, but it's tight, it's very tight.
It is, Andy. That was very, very close. In the last 30 seconds, the pair of them were basically punching in and around the clinch as well, which makes it even more difficult to score. Will the kind of industry and effort of ZHOLAMAN be rewarded, or when she got her punch picking and distance right, would it be about Shogdarova who's in shot? Very, very tight one. Wouldn't complain either way how this one unfolds.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by split decision in the red corner representing Kazakhstan.
So ZHOLAMAN gets it by split decision, so that's another gold medal for Kazakhstan, and that is 3 on the bounce. They've got 9 fighters in finals this afternoon, and so far it is 3 out of 3. 2 scores of 29 to 28 and 1 of 30 to 27 there, I do believe, for ZHOLAMAN, as those scores flashed up very quickly. So it was that final round, you would imagine, that was the key there. That was something we saw a lot of, ZHOLAMAN just banging away to the body with that left. You made a good point in that third round, which is when you're in with a here's what I do now, try and stop me fighter, which is what DINA ZHOLAMAN is, that it could turn out to be a little bit more difficult than you think. Do you think Shogdarova might have a few regrets about that one, that she could maybe have done a little bit more in that final round particularly?
I think the difficulty is knowing how much it was that you were or weren't able to do yourself, and how much of that actually was about your opponent and how much they were letting you do what you wanted to do. That's always the difficulty in boxing, isn't it? And one of the things I love about the sport is that in between rounds, each fighter in their teams, their corners, they get an opportunity to redress. It's a bit like playing moves in chess, isn't it? And after the end of each round, what might have looked like an attacking position suddenly can be addressed, and it can be turned around. It's one of the beauties about the sport. It's constantly changing in between rounds, and every single break in between rounds each fighter, each boxer, each corner team, they get an opportunity to tactically challenge and change once again. And it's one of the real beauties of the sport. And we've seen it already, particularly in that bout with the fluctuations through the first couple of rounds.
And in this AIBA format as well, of the 3 3-minute rounds, you've got so little time really to try and adjust.
VLADISLAVA Koza.
Let's move on then to the next. We're up to the featherweight division. Making her way to the ring, first of all, is VLADISLAVA KUKHTA, looking to become the 4th successive Kazakh gold medalist on the night. Guess what? She's a southpaw. He only turned 21 just a couple of weeks ago as well. No surprise, she's the national champion.
TURDIBEKOVA.
And up against her from Uzbekistan, we've got another Kazakh-Uzbek matchup here, is SITORA TURDIBEKOVA, who likewise only 10 days ago turned 20. They share birthdays, the pair of them, separated only by a couple of weeks and only separated by a couple of years as well. So I think the latest young talents off the production lines from both their respective countries, with such prestige and pedigree in these events, and I'm really looking forward to this one.
I saw TURDIBEKOVA in the World Youth Championships recently. She got a bronze medal. She lost in the semi-finals to Poonam of India, one of the 7 Indian fighters who went on to win gold. And Poonam, a difficult fighter to deal with, along the same lines as ZHOLAMAN, who we've just seen. A physical fighter, a come-forward fighter who sets a very hot kind of relentless pace, and TURDIBEKOVA just struggled to get to grips with that within that 3-round format, exactly the kind of formula we were just referring to there. So I think this is going to be an interesting kind of fight.
Certainly KUKHTA's had the easier passage through. She's had relatively comfortable scorelines in her 2 victories so far, and it was a clean sweep on the cards for TURDIBEKOVA in the semi-finals as well. Intriguing matchup, this one. KUKHTA in the red, TURDIBEKOVA in the blue. A sharp 1-2 there from TURDIBEKOVA, and quickly out of range almost immediately too. And you always think with that relatively good recent experience for TURDIBEKOVA, it's not that long ago, that youth championships, Andy, you know, you were out there. Those competitions where there's bouts in a relatively short space of time, you're on weight from day to day as well. It can take a lot out of fighters. Sometimes being busy, though, it can be a real bonus. It can be a real asset when you come to the next competition.
Absolutely. Throughout the course of that 2 weeks in Kielce in Poland, you could see fighters really grow into the tournament. You'd see them backstage sometimes. They'd come to watch teammates. They weren't boxing themselves. They're just having a bit of a workout. Maybe got the sweatsuit on, just as you say, keeping that weight under control. And it's just invaluable experience, really. They're all such young athletes when you go to those World Juniors or World Youths. But the interesting thing about this, as you said, there's not that much age separates these two, so in terms of experience there isn't all that much between them, really.
Like the way that KUKHTA's going about this now, she's starting to get a rhythm. That southpaw jab is really starting to work well, and she's sort of jab, back out, half a step out of range, then back with the counters. Really starting to warm up KUKHTA, who's also managed to bag herself a junior world bronze 6 years ago as well, so shares the same kind of medal as TURDIBEKOVA has managed to garner recently. That's a nice 1-2 there from TURDIBEKOVA as well. So this is an interesting match, I think, through the first couple of minutes.
She just kind of looks like the boss in there, KUKHTA, as well, doesn't she? On the front foot, manoeuvring TURDIBEKOVA around the ring, getting her into the kind of positions that she wants her to be, and that's what it looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look exactly like that, Andy. It is quite clever pressure. It's you know, you compare it to the previous fight with ZHOLAMAN, who, you know, it's changed her play in the second round, but it was very much a harried, hassling pressure. This is quite an intelligent, patient pressure from KUKHTA. And there gets through the left hand once again. So it's been a good start from her. You just wonder, you know, the pressure's not always physical as well. It's when you're under that kind of momentum, that kind of calculating pressure, I think it starts to impose a mental toll as well. And certainly Turdibekova was asked a few questions there in the first round.
She needs to try and disrupt that rhythm, doesn't she? She did that in the final 20, 30 seconds there, just managed to get her feet in nice and quickly through a crisp combination, got through with a couple, and then either grab hold or just look to get back out again. That's a lovely bit of work there, just throws the jab, pulls back, avoids the right hand, throws another jab. It's not real heavy punching she's looking to do here, the Kazakh. Just trying to hit the target. That's still the major difference between top-level amateur boxing and professional fighting. You can win the fight by hitting the target. In AIBA boxing, you don't necessarily have to hurt your opponent to win it. Pro boxing is different. That is, as people often describe it, the hurt business. But increasingly in recent years, of course, you do see fighters looking to punch through that target more, don't you?
Shot 1-2 there from KUKHTA at the start of the round, but there was a retaliation, really sharp punches. Sometimes when we're up close like that, it's not always easy to see exactly who's landing and where. No doubt Turdibekova enjoyed some success in those opening sequences. Oh, nice right hand as well, once again from Turdibekova. And I just wondered the kind of pressure that, the very subtle, intelligent pressure that KUKHTA was applying in that first round. I just wondered at the end of it, it did look like maybe Turdibekova was just becoming a little frayed around the edges physically. And I wondered if we were going to see a continuation of that into the second round. Actually, Turdibekova's managed to gather herself and get back on her boxing.
It's almost like watching two fighters fight at different speeds in this kind of fight, though, isn't it? Because KUKHTA, as you said, is nice and balanced, is nice and measured. That front foot always just taking that space. Turdibekova's been made to work hard here. She's got that kind of air of a fighter who's having to work hard to keep KUKHTA off her. But in a three-round fight, you can win the fight in that kind of mode.
I'll tell you what, with the shape of KUKHTA, a couple of nice shots landed there from both boxers. But I bet you KUKHTA, in terms of her shape and style, I bet you she's the kind of boxer that the coach will occasionally haul over to show another young would-be star of the future. Right, look at this guard, look at this technique. This is exactly how you go about it. Her shape and technique is excellent. Just been a bit more scrappy, I think, in this round. Not as clear-cut the moments for either boxer. But her left hand, KUKHTA, is absolutely perfectly delivered, and when she does measure it, it is usually with little drawback, little tell, and little movement back out of the space as well. Technically very sound. I suppose the big question here is Andy, if you were in the corner of, and this is a tight round, so I wouldn't like to say how this has gone either way, and there you go, a couple of shots left and a right at the end of it, eye-catching ones for Turdibekova as they touch gloves at the end of it, a real mark of respect, as you'd expect in this great sport. That little salvo at the end for Turdibekova, give her a shout on the cards. So that was a tough round to score.
That could have been enough. That combination at the end there from Turdibekova could have been enough just to see her nick this. As I said, kind of midway through the round, when you look at what's happening in there, what you see is KUKHTA manoeuvring her opponent around, making the running. She's the one taking the centre of the ring. She's the one who looks to be capable of providing a threat, a latent threat almost at all times. But TURDIBEKOVA, although she does look slightly more, desperate's not quite the right word, but you know what I'm getting at. She looks slightly more on the back foot and looking for ideas. She did land some decent punches in that second round, so maybe the red corner are gonna tell KUKHTA, or will have told her between rounds, that you need to get out there and let your hands go more and make sure you win this round.
You fancy this is crucial, this third round, and into it we go. I think exactly that. TURDIBEKOVA has been perhaps reactive throughout, and maybe that's the best way to describe it. And also we're talking, Andy, about, you know, how you score a fight, the things you're looking for, ring generalship and the flow of play, the pattern of the fight. That is often something that has to come into it as well. And you'd have to say that although TURDIBEKOVA comes back with a couple of shots of her own there, you'd have to say on balance that the pattern of the fight is being dictated by KUKHTA throughout.
You would. The 5 judges at ringside will be looking first and foremost, though, for scoring punches. Punches landed with a knuckle part of the glove to the torso, to the head. TURDIBEKOVA gets in close there, lets her hands go. And a couple there, I think, maybe 3 did get through. That's why I think she just needs to just do a little bit more in this final round, KUKHTA. Maybe let her hands go a little bit more. She dipped ahead and walked straight onto right hand there, though, and with just over, heading up towards a midway point of this third and final round. Again, there's not a great deal in this one. If anything, I think the fighter in blue is probably nicking this one so far, although there's a long way to go. Yeah,
I think she's done well. End of the second round, start of this third, through the first minute and a half is TURDIBEKOVA, who seems to be landing those shots, particularly when they both miss and come in close. It does look as though TURDIBEKOVA is getting the right hand off particularly, and has landed a few of those shots. And despite the fact that she has been dictating the play, KUKHTA, she's not quite been able to do it as successfully or noticeably as she did perhaps through the first round particularly.
Just snapped off a 1-2 there, KUKHTA. Held her feet a little bit, and a right hand came back in from TURDIBEKOVA. The referee just having a word with the fighter in red there about the heads coming together.
Footwork's been better from TURDIBEKOVA in this third round, hasn't it? She just managed to judge the distance, get a bit more rhythm in her own work, which is, I think, the word that Andy was using for KUKHTA in the first round. I think it's been a good response, this, from TURDIBEKOVA. To that first round, it looked like she really had to do something. Second was close, not easy to judge. There's eye-catching shots right at the end of it, just before the bell. And she landed quite a few shots, particularly the short right hand at the start, through the first minute of this third round as well. So there goes the final bell. TURDIBEKOVA, thanks to her rally, particularly through the second half of the second round and through this third, has given herself a shout.
Absolutely, they're pretty happy in that Uzbek corner as well, as she went back into it there, because I think they feel that she did the stronger work in that third and final round, and I would probably agree with them. You talked about distance there, and that's always key, isn't it, in all fights. You could argue that boxing is all about distance, really, and there was a right hand there, just as you were talking about it. She came in from out of range, landed a right hand, grabbed hold, and just an example of the kind of adjustments that possibly she managed to make quite effectively heading through that fight. So this is right in the balance, this one, I would say.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner representing...
She's done it. SITORA TURDIBEKOVA, the third finalist tonight from Uzbekistan. She becomes the first gold medalist for them, and tight on one of the scorecards, pretty comfortable by 3 points on 4 of the other scorecards. So there wasn't much of a worry in the end. I really like the way she found a way Andy, through the second and third rounds particularly. That was a terrific response. They say that of any would-be champion or champion, is finding a way, finding an answer, and she did that tonight.
She did. 4 of the judges giving it 3 rounds to nil there. I think we were looking at that as more of a 2-1 fight, maybe the Kazakh taking the first round and then TURDIBEKOVA coming back and taking rounds 2 and 3, although there was very little in round 2. I think what you might say to KUKHTA, what the coaching team might say to KUKHTA off the back of that, is that in a 3-round fight, she's probably got to up that punch output. As you said, the feet are great, the technique is good, her balance is good, she holds her boxing together really, really well in every facet, but she just didn't really throw enough. TURDIBEKOVA upped that in rounds 2 and 3, and that's what won the fight, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. What KUKHTA has is really good technique and talent, and her judgment of distance is good. You've got to make that work for you.
Weight category, women's light, 60 kilograms. Referee in the ring is representing Croatia. Judges are from Slovakia, Romania, Turkey, Uzbekistan, and Egypt. In the red corner, representing Indonesia, HUSWATUN HASANAH.
So lightweight, and heading for the red corner here, HUSWATUN HASANAH of Indonesia, the first Indonesian woman to reach a final in the Asian Boxing Championships, and the only fighter not from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan or India to make it through to the final. She beat the #1 seed in the semi-finals. And we've got another Kazakhstan fighter, RIMMA VOLOSSENKO, heading for the blue corner, got past Simranjit Kaur of India by unanimous decision in the semis, a #3 seed previously. Has boxed at a couple of these before. At the World Championships in 2019 as well. HASANAH has some World Championship experience herself and previous Asian Championships experience, so they're quite well matched, these two, you would say, in that regard. But big win for HASANAH in the semi-finals against Shura Zulkanarova of Tajikistan. She got past her by split decision despite having a point deducted. It was 2 apiece, and then one other judge had it 28 points to 28, and that particular judge had to make a decision and went in favour of the Indonesian fighter. Watching the fights in great comfort there, down at ringside.
Shame we don't have a couple of those, Andy.
That is it, absolutely.
Luxurious chaise longues. But a bit of history in the offing here is that HASANAH's already into as Indonesia's first finalist, and you know, to take that one stage further, her name already in the history books, but potentially something quite special.
Absolutely, she'll be aware of that, I'm sure. In the red there, HUSWATUN HASANAH of Indonesia, RIMMA VOLOSSENKO of Kazakhstan is in the blue, HASANAH in the red. Both of these two orthodox fighters, and VOLOSSENKO started aggressively here. You can see that just from the posture, feet planted wide, lead hand held low. Referee just wiping off the gloves. And physically of these two, VOLOSSENKO is the bigger when you just look at them in the centre of the ring there. She's looking to try and flip that jab up from the waist and get some pop onto it, get some real power into it. Then she really is looking to try and step to HASANAH here, Alex, and get her right on the back foot early on. I think she maybe senses a few nerves in her opponent, possibly. She's looking to put her foot down.
She says Gennady Golovkin, perhaps unsurprisingly, is one of her heroes, and she's fighting a little bit like Triple G, isn't she? Just one danger, I think, for VOLOSSENKO. That left hand is very, very low, and HASANAH has been triggering her counter right hand very sharply and quickly indeed. So this is set up nicely. I like the style from both fighters. I like the application. Just Volossenko's got to be careful because the counter right hand of HASANAH, she's looking for that. There's going to be opportunities. She just landed it there.
Volossenko just pushing off of the forearm a little bit there. The referee having a quick word about that. She's bristling with intent, with aggression here, the Kazakh fighter. You can see that there, just moving that head on the way in, offering the head short. Left hand there was a solid shot. The referee could have jumped in with a standing count there, and has done now. No great surprise. Some nice clean punching there.
That was a huge left hand. It looked like the right hand was the punch she was looking for. It was actually the counter left once the gap closed between them. There was real meanness and method about Volossenko right from the very off. She's come out here, Andy, as though not only does she think she's going to win, she's pressing as though the referee is going to have to get involved, and she's going to force him to do just that tonight. Remarkable start.
She's really looking to put on the show. She's got nice quick hands as well there, lets them go on the inside, and HASANAH, who was dipping low at the waist, touched down with the gloves, and she almost let a couple more go. Volossenko just shuffling into range, lets a right hand fly that time. And this is a pretty torrid opening round for the Indonesian fighter.
Oh, that's a huge left hand. To be honest, I was thinking the referee could have stepped in before, and he has done now. And you have to say, Andy, it was on the cards right from the very start. What an explosive performance that was from RIMMA Volossenko, I should say, the number 2 seed, already taken out of the competition in the very first round. The seeds were falling left, right and centre on both sides of the draw. And she has just fought tonight in the manner of a boxer who's going to be on everyone's lips and shortlist to see next time there's a competition worldwide. That was terrific.
Absolutely, it's another gold medal for Kazakhstan, and it was the manner of the performance, because right from the first bell, as we mentioned, and you couldn't miss it, she came out just bristling with intent, with aggression, with confidence as well, looking to try and really put her mark on the fight early on, and she did just that. And there was that lead left hook, and the way she throws that there just pulls the weight back, so she's actually out of distance. She's got a range perfectly with that left, and the referee did the right thing there. It was the second standing count of the round, and I think he knew it was one-way traffic.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by knockout hit in the blue corner representing Kazakhstan.
Well, if there's going to be an award for Boxer of the Tournament, I think they might just have closed the voting. Certainly they didn't need to cast any votes, the judges here ringside. It was only the referee who was called in to do his job, and that's a remarkable performance, Andy. It's not just how she's done it, it's the manner and approach right from the very start. My notes say puncher, very aggressive. My goodness me. And I wondered about the low left hand, whether that was going to be a hindrance to her at all, but when you can punch like she can, but also with the technique and accuracy too, that's a heady cocktail for a boxer, particularly at these kind of events in the women's division at this weight as well. Fantastic.
100%, she is one to watch out for. She is one to watch out for. Hasn't made it to Tokyo later in the year, but there's plenty of time for her to compete in all sorts of other competitions. Women's World Championships coming up in October towards the end of the year, and that's a standout performance of the day so far. I feel a bit for HASANAH there because, as you said, she was making history, first Indonesian woman to make it to a final of the Asian Championships. Terrific effort. She should be very, very proud of her display over the course of the last week, but tonight she's just run into somebody who was too good for her, and there's no shame in that. It happens to everybody at some point.
It's the nature of sport, particularly at elite level. You know, you might be the best in your village, your town, your country, and then at the rarefied level, there just happens to be someone who's even better than you. That's what happens even at world level. You don't always see it so strikingly, but that's what happens, and Volossenko showed it tonight. Whether she'll have the same sort of success against maybe more savvy, switched-on technical boxers further up the food chain, now only time will tell, but she's going to be on the must-see list at the next competition, that's for sure.
Absolutely. 60 kilos is always such a good division as well, isn't it? Because that's where the majority of fighters congregate in women's AIBA boxing. Partly because it's one of the Olympic weights. There are 5 now rather than the previous 3, but just physically, if you like, that's where it's the most populated weight division generally, isn't it? 57, 60 and 64.
And sometimes, Andy, you see fighters, whether in the men's or women's divisions, where they just have a style that really catches your eye. Mohamed Rabi, I remember seeing him in 2015 in Doha, thinking, yeah, I like the way this guy fights. Arlen Lopez, the Cuban as well, has got that really easy on the eye, fan-friendly style, and I think Volossenko has just gone on the list as well for both us and I think from anyone watching her across the world. I'm sure there'll be lots of potential would-be opponent coaches now who'll be looking at that style and thinking, right, let's find ourselves an answer. Let's see how we diffuse that. The low left hand, maybe that's something they'll be looking at as we look back on some of what we've seen so far tonight, to the action getting underway with ALUA BALKIBEKOVA, one of the first Kazakh fighters on show tonight to manage to garner a medal.
Absolutely, absolutely. She was in with GULASAL SULTONALIEVA of Uzbekistan. That's BALKIBEKOVA in the blue there. We're about to have some medal ceremonies. This was the light flyweight division. And now we have a look at the flyweights, the very familiar figure there of MERY up against NAZYM KYZAIBAY of Kazakhstan, and that was a tight one, a real tight one, a split decision in the end, but it was Kazakhstan who managed to score another victory. But just amazing for Komno to still be at this level, still be at this standard after 20 years of boxing. She started back in 2000.
One word, Andy, and it's what all sportsmen and women to an extent are striving for: legacy. She's left it. There's the MERY Boxing Academy, of course, in India, which is probably the reason we now have all that youth success, and indeed the Indian men and women that we have in this tournament right now, already finalists as well. There's one reason for that, largely, and it's Com. She's done that. No surprise they made a film about her. No surprise she is hero worship back in India, and no surprise that she's an inspiration to so many. So you know, lead and they will follow, and you know, who knows, Volossenko might be the next chapter for her country.
Absolutely. We just had a look at those finals at Bantamweight and Featherweight as well, and then concluded with lightweight. We're midway through the 10 finals, and those are the trophies and the medals that are on offer. Strange couple of years, 18 months for, well, not just international amateur boxing, for everybody, I think it's fair to say. And 2021 would normally have been a year when we had all the continental championships, as we did in 2019. This is the only one that's going to take place, and it's a good effort by the ASBC to get this done. They got their Olympic qualifier done. Amazingly, that was originally scheduled for Wuhan, of all places. They moved it very swiftly to Amman in Jordan, got that completed, and they've managed to get this done too, despite the fact that it was originally scheduled for Delhi. They've managed to bring it over to Dubai, hence Delhi, Dubai 2021 there, and it's for the benefit of everybody really, but particularly these athletes who were itching for such a long time to get back into some kind of competition, and now they're in much more of a groove. There have been international tournaments going on all over the place since the start of the year really. The European under-22s is coming up in Italy towards the end of June, and just great to see the circuit back in back in full swing and back in operation.
Absolutely, Andy, and it's all credit to the ASBC and everyone at AIBA, but also the, individual federations. I mean, you know, throughout 2020, the gyms were closed effectively, weren't they? And there were boxers not able to necessarily train with the coaches, do the usual stuff, having to do it on their own, if at all. It's been such a difficult time for all. So it's just great to get the show back on the road, and it's great that despite all of those interruptions, the serious impact nationwide and worldwide,
ladies and
that we've seen the level of
gentlemen,
competition that we have so far
will start the
tonight.
medal ceremony of the 48 kilogram weight category. سيداتي وسادتي، سنبدأ الآن حفل تتويج الفائزين لوزن 48 كيلوغرام. We would like to welcome Mr. Anas Al-Otaiba, Asian Boxing Confederation President, and Mr. Esteban Kovac, AIBA Secretary General, who will present the medal and trophies. والآن نود أن نرحب بأستاذ أنس العتيبة رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي للملاكمة، وأستاذ إستيفان كوفاش الأمين العام للاتحاد الدولي للملاكمة لتوزيع الميداليات والجوائز.
Great to see Kovac there, Andy, as well, former professional fighter himself. I think he was he long-term with the WBO organisation internationally, worldwide. He's their sort of European representative, now heavily involved with the AIBA as well, bringing all his experience both inside and outside of the ring.
Absolutely, absolutely. We had some long chats with him in Poland a few weeks ago. Istvan Kovac, as you say, as he's known, a two-time world champion. I think he's an amateur Olympic champion. Very successful as a professional as well, a WBO world champion, general secretary of AIBA now. And just great to have someone like him in that position, who knows what it's like for the fighters. He knows what the travel's like. He knows what it's like to stay on weight for 2 weeks. He knows it all. He knows absolutely everything that they go through. It is a bit of a different world now, because with funding and all the rest of it, these are professionals we're talking about, really. There's prize money. There's prize money for the first time in these championships provided by AIBA. $10,000 US for the winner, $5,000 for silver. These two bronze medalists will get $2,500 apiece. It's Josie Kabuko of the Philippines and Monica of India. Kabuko will be disappointed. She's defending champion and #1 seed. And then up on the silver medal step there, we've got GULASAL SULTONALIEVA of Uzbekistan, and then ALUA BALKIBEKOVA of Kazakhstan picking up that gold medal. And I think we're going to get used to the sound of this Kazakh national anthem over the course of the afternoon, because
I'd say so, Andy. If I don't know the words or every note of the tune, I'll be slightly surprised. But there's representatives, of course, of India and Uzbekistan as well, still to come. India on the medals table here with the bronze, and Philippines represented as well.
So there we go, there's that national anthem for Kazakhstan, which, as we were just saying, myself and Alex will be hearing a fair bit over the course of the next few minutes. Actually, because 3 out of 3 of the first 3 finals were won by Kazakhstan. That first one was Kazakhstan against Uzbekistan. There are 5 finals of that description in total. And that was the moment when ALUA BALKIBEKOVA got the nod by unanimous decision over GULASAL SULTONALIEVA in our opening fight. And there's that check for $10,000 US, which will be very welcome, I'm sure. It's an added bonus, really. This is sport in its kind of purest form, you could argue. All these fighters work extremely hard, they train hard, they dedicate themselves to this 24/7, every single day, week of the year. And it's the titles, the glory, really, the recognition from their peers too that they're in this for. But the extra incentive of some prize money for finishing on that podium certainly does not go amiss. And they've done a tremendous job, as we've been saying, of getting this all together at short notice. You saw the arena there, it's impressive. The way that this has been hosted, the way that this has been handled. The Asian Championships first got underway back in 1963 in Bangkok. Bangkok's been a popular venue for it down the years. And the level of competition is always intense. It went up a notch in the 90s, 1994, when a number of the ex-Soviet countries such as Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, they entered the fold, and Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, of course, 2 such powerhouses of AIBA boxing. They both sent a full complement of 20 fighters to this competition. And they're just trying to add that little bit of glamour to these competitions as well. You see the ramp there for the ring walks and the screens. It's just designed to give everything a little bit more
Ladies
ceremony.
and gentlemen,
Make the fighters just feel that bit more special.
The medal ceremony of 51 kilogram weight category. سيداتي وسادتي، الآن سنبدأ حفل تتويج الفائزين لوزن 51 كيلوغرام.
So the bronze medalists in the flyweights, we've got Lutsaikan Altınsetseg of Mongolia and Nadika Pushpakumari of Sri Lanka.
To award the medals and trophies.
Our silver medalist, of course, is MERY of India.
نرحب بأستاذ استيفان كوفاش الأمين العام للاتحاد الدولي للملاكمة، وأستاذة سيفلين غوزلان نائبة رئيس لجنة الحكام الدولية.
And our gold medalist NAZYM KYZAIBAY
Bronze
of
medal
Kazakhstan.
winner representing Mongolia, Loschan Atkantestes. Bronze medal winner representing Sri Lanka, Nadika Pushpakumara. Silver medal winner
MERY seems to have a slight problem there. I'm not quite sure what's going on. She's just dashed up, I think, to get her mask. Forgotten her mask. Easily done. Easily done. So there she is, just collecting that silver medal from Istvan Kovac.
Gold medal winner representing Kazakhstan, NAZYM KYZAIBAY.
And KYZAIBAY with the gold. Split decision that was between these two at 51 kilos.
We would like to welcome Ms. Sivelin award the prize money. نود أن نرحب بأستاذة سيفلين غوزلا.
And once again, the checks being presented
الجوائز المالية.
before we get another listen to that Kazakh national anthem. 4 out of the first 5 bouts won by fighters from Kazakhstan. I do love a big check. You don't see that many big checks these days, do you? They used to be everywhere. Every time anybody was presenting with anything, they would get an outsized check.
Staple diet of TV game shows and all sorts, but that's fantastic. And I must admit, KYZAIBAY is, for me, one of the performances I've been most impressed by. The way she managed to turn things around after a difficult start against MERY. Really impressed by the way she came through that, and I think she's a real talent.
And now with the national anthem of Kazakhstan. والآن مع النشيد الوطني لدولة كازاخستان.
So the flyweights just making their way up to the top step of the podium, all 4 of them, for the photos. So next up for their medal ceremony will be the Bantamweights, 54 kilos. But this just some highlights of that flyweight final between KOM and KYZAIBAY, which was a good watch, went to split decision. KOM the #1 seed. Couldn't quite take home that gold medal. She's got plenty in her trophy cabinet already, of course. KYZAIBAY, after a couple of world titles in 2014 and 2016, she's back on the top step of that rostrum.
Yeah, I was quietly impressed by her, Andy, I've got to say, particularly up against someone like MERY, who's shown that she's still got it, and she'll be hoping to continue to add to that ridiculous tally of medals that she has. I wonder where she puts them all.
Well, she must have some people have got a trophy cabinet or room. She might have a trophy wing in her house, I think, to house all of that hardware.
And I like the medals in the shape of boxing gloves. I'm a fan of each individual event or tournament putting their sort of stamp and signature on the medals themselves, rather than necessarily just one circular medal. I like the idea of that, giving it some kind of identity so you know that it was that tournament, that event. And pretty memorable
Ladies and gentlemen,
medals they look.
we will start
History being
medal
created
ceremony
this evening.
of 54 kilograms weight category. سيداتي وسادتي، سنبدأ الآن حفل تتويج الفائزين لوزن 54 كيلوغرام. We would like to welcome Mr. Yusuf Al-Kadem, ASBC Vice President and AIBA EC member, and Mr. Esteban Kovac, AIBA Secretary General, to the stage to award the medals and the money check.
So our bronze medalists here are Sakshi of India and Michidma of Mongolia. Our silver medalist, SITORA SHOGDAROVA, our gold medalist, DINA ZHOLAMAN.
Bronze medal winner representing India, Sakshi.
Sakshi, who so nearly beat ZHOLAMAN in the semi-final, got it originally 3-2 on the split, then it went to a review and it was turned around. It was a good final this, wasn't it, between Shogdarova and ZHOLAMAN, and as you were pointing out, particularly in that second round, ZHOLAMAN just tweaked things a little bit when she needed to.
Yeah, experience counting for plenty in that, Andy. I think it's fair to say the World Championship success, the handful and a bit of national championships as well, and all of that came to bear. Only just, it's a pretty competitive fight. There's the big checks that have been handed out as well. They'll be gratefully received in these recently difficult times, but that's only part of it. I think the money's an added bonus. It's the medal, the prestige, and the delivering an opportunity that's the most important thing for these boxers. Another Kazakh gold medal so far on this finals night. Women's finals night, of course, the men to come again. Make sure you join us again tomorrow for all of that. 10 more events, plenty of Kazakh representation as well. Is it 14 of the 20 divisions, men's and women's in total? Kazakhstan are represented in. 13 for Uzbekistan, 7 for India and Mongolia. Good to see them on the rostrum as well, with 4 medals, 4 finalists too. As we take a look back on some of the action, pretty competitive, wasn't it? It was a good start for SHOGDAROVA. Looked like Andy, her kind of range and her jab, distance was going to be the key, but ZHOLAMAN had her other ideas and through her experience managed to regroup and come up with a plan B.
And now we will start the medal ceremony of 57 حفل تتويج الفائزين لوزن 57 كيلوغرام. We would like to welcome Mr. Sakin Boltov, ASBC Vice President.
This is a featherweight, 57 kilos.
Sevlen Gozla, AIBA RNJ's Committee Vice Chair, to the stage to award the medals and the money prize. Bronze medal winner representing India, Jasmine.
Jasmine of India and Samadova of Tajikistan, the beaten semi-finalists.
Bronze medal winner representing Tajikistan, Mijona Samidova. Silver medal winner representing Kazakhstan, VLADISLAVA Koza. Gold medal winner representing Uzbekistan, SITORA TURDIBEKOVA.
TURDIBEKOVA interrupting that Kazakh dominance, getting the win against KUKHTA. What was another good fight to watch? Another good clash of styles, really.
Really have emerged, Andy, haven't they, the last 5-10 years. Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan in the elite championships, probably helped by the World Boxing Series, the WBS, where they had the Astana Arlens and the Uzbek Tigers. Of course, there were such strong teams in those competitions as well. Having that as an event and just the experience, another tournament, the best fighting the best, can only improve boxers. And I think it's just another facet of why you're starting to see those countries flourish.
Of Uzbekistan. رجاء الوقوف للنشيد الوطني لدولة أوزبكستان.
What a few weeks it's been for SITORA TURDIBEKOVA, a bronze at the World Youth Championships in Poland and now a gold at the Asian Seniors.
And I was just thinking, Andy, you just, although the money is a kind of afterthought in many ways, it's not necessarily the incentive for these women, why they're involved or why they want to win. I guess you can't underestimate the impact it's going to have. It makes me think about LALBUATSAIHI, who's coming up. I think the next fight we're going to show after the medal presentations. Someone who's had to kind of juggle her boxing with work to support her family. Imagine what that $10,000 is going to do if she can win gold in that upcoming final. What that's going to do for her life, for her family.
Absolutely, it's really significant. I mentioned when we were talking about István Kovács earlier that it's a different world now with the funding. In some countries, not in all, you get differing levels of it, of course, and yeah, $10,000, $5,000, $2,500 US, that's going to go a long way towards helping these athletes train, towards reducing stress as well. Just your training, living conditions, competition conditions will be that much easier. So I'll make you right, I think it's going to have a significant impact.
We would like to welcome Mr. Mohammed Bukhater, LOC Chairman and GCC Boxing Commission Chairman, to the stage, and Mr. István Kovács, AIBA Secretary General, to award the medals and money prize.
And this is in the lightweight division, isn't it, where we've seen one of the performances so far of the event.
Representing Tajikistan, ZHOLAMAN.
Shoira Zulkhainarova of Tajikistan was the #1 seed.
Bronze medal winner representing India, Simranjit Kolbata.
And of India's Simranjit Kaur Bhatt.
Silver medal winner representing Indonesia, HUSWATUN HASANAH.
First Indonesian female to make it to a final, so huge achievement, that silver medal. But as you said, Alex, this performance from VOLOSSENKO right from the bell was swaggering, it was menacing, it was kind of everything you want, wasn't it?
It was a statement of intent. It was perhaps a statement going forward as well of where she wants to go, who she wants to be, the type of fighter that she wants to show. And there'll be plenty of people who are watching around the world tonight will say, wow, yes, please, let me have more. I wouldn't mind going to see her next time up. And hopefully, as the world rights itself, that the crowds are going to be back in short space time, and she'll be creating a stir in upcoming competitions as well. She earned every penny of that prize, and the medal worth its weight in gold.
الرجاء الوقوف للنشيد الوطني لدولة كازاخستان.
Third time lucky then, Andy, in these Asian Championships for Volossenko. It's not quite worked out for her in the World Championships, a couple of events so far. She's gone out in the first and second rounds in both of those. I wonder if she can bring that style to bear in one of the really big ones. This is a statement of intent and a pretty good start and a good showing towards that.
It's just interesting, isn't it, when you see fighters develop, really, whether it's a confidence thing or whatever it is, they just manage to burst through those kinds of barriers that have previously held them back. Because as you say, she's competed previously at a couple of Asian Championships, a couple of World Championships, without really managing to make her mark. She's 28 now, so it was the time to start delivering. But what was just so noticeable about that performance is that this is the final. It's the most pressure you'll be feeling all week, and she was just so confident, and the punch power is real. I mean, that lead left hook there, which put her down for the second time and caused the referee to wave it over. As you said, there'll be people watching this and they will fancy watching her again, and that's exactly what you want. That's exactly what draws eyeballs to the sport and encourages more people to get involved, and a crowd-pleasing style never hurt anybody.
She says a big heroes are Golovkin and Lomachenko. I think there's more Golovkin than Loma in that performance tonight, and no doubt one of the highlights of the evening so far. But it's been a rich treat thus far.
Ladies
still more to come.
Gentlemen, kindly follow all the safety measurements and keep your mask on. الرجاء من السيدات والسادة إبقاء الكمامة على الوجه وعدم إزالتها.
And the corner team's just making their way to the red and blue corners, so not too long now, I don't think, until the second half of the evening's entertainment gets underway. The officials just filing in from the far side as well. 5 scoring judges at ringside, all using the 10-point must. That was a key development, I think, wasn't it, when the changes got made before the men's seniors in 2013. All the attention was on the head guards going off for the men. The women, of course, still wear the head guards, but everybody talked about that. But the switch from computer point scoring to a 10-point must, that was the big change, really, in many ways, because stylistically it's changed the game completely. You see a kind of contest now, particularly with a lot more inside fighting, that you just wouldn't have seen with that previous scoring system. It's done two things, I think. It's made fights better to watch, and it has meant that fighters who have decided to turn pro and go into the pro ranks, the difference between amateur and pro boxing is still big, but maybe not as big as it once was.
And at the top, elite amateur level, the quality of competition is so high. That's why when the really top men and women, if they end up boxing professionally, can be moved so fast and are probably on a level where they can start competing with some of the very best. WSB was a big part of that as well, wasn't it? What a fantastic competition that was, with the Cubans, of course, who are always a threat, and such a rich history, the World Championships and also the Olympic Games as well.
Wouldn't it be great to see WSB or something like it return? People ask us about it all the time, don't they? And fighters ask about it constantly because they enjoyed competing in it so much. And you look at some of the fighters who've emerged over the last few years with that pedigree in their locker.
Well, Lomachenko we mentioned, and of course Usyk famously fought down at York Hall on the same night not so long ago. Well, we're moving on to our next fight. This in the light welterweight division, up to 64 kilograms. And Milana Safronova, with plenty of experience, she'll be fancied and perhaps confident to win this tonight against the late replacement. She is 30 now, several times national
corner representing India,
champion.
LALBUATSAIHI.
And she's up against the youngster, only 19, LALBUATSAIHI, who's a bit of a late call-up and making the most of the opportunity. His second round stoppage, who made short work of her opponent in the previous round. And I guess in some ways, she might come here with a free slate, a free mind, almost feeling like she's got nothing to lose. There's certainly perhaps maybe a little unlucky not to be on the plane in the first place, but she's here now and she's certainly trying to make it pay.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot to be said for that. There's no real pressure on her, as you mentioned, and this Indian team is absolutely flying after the World Youth. They've had another good showing in this competition, and she didn't exactly look beset by nerves in that semi-final against Al-Matari of Kuwait.
You see it, Andy, don't you, in all sports, but particularly boxing. You have gyms that thrive, cities that thrive, and you're seeing with India, as well as Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, you have countries that thrive for one reason or another, whether it's the system in place or it's just simply a MERY leading the way, influence those and the next generations behind. Suddenly everything starts to click together, and it's definitely happening in India right now. So their representative LALBUATSAIHI in the blue corner, and will be, I guess, viewed on paper as up against it, against Safronova, who's in the red, already a bronze medalist a couple of years ago in this very championship. Nice 1-2 from Safronova. Taller of the two opponents. We've had a few matchups like this, haven't we, where you sort of sense it's going to be Safronova on the jab. She's getting the 1-2 working well. Output's pretty good from her through the first 30 seconds, but there's a heavy right hand from LALBUATSAIHI, and she'll be looking to either get inside or counter heavily, as she did quite eye-catchingly there.
Yeah, she's not going to mess around, is she, the Indian fighter? She came straight out of her corner across the ring and just started to let her hands go immediately. Safronova, I think, was possibly slightly surprised by that, but she seems to have found her range quite quick, the fighter in red, but she will need to keep popping out that jab right hand, that 1-2. As soon as she neglects it, then the Indian fighter will be all over her. It's as simple as that.
And she is, as you say, Andy, she is just kind of popping it. It's scoring rather than necessarily much more than that. And that's why a couple of times we've already seen a heavy counter sharp right hand from LALBUATSAIHI, and she'll be looking to time that counter. You can see the way to shots. There's only been a few of them. You can see the way to shots, why she got that stoppage in the qualifying round.
Yeah, she could definitely punch.
She's looking for it, isn't she, LALBUATSAIHI? Been boxing since 2005, despite the fact that she's pretty young. Certainly motivated more so than ever, having been left out originally from the squad. Nice punch, 1-2 from her out of the clinch. She looks like she's just starting to work into this and maybe unsettling Safronova slightly. The head guard might have just become a little displaced. I wish I could say my hair gets in the way, but well, that's just something they're having to deal with. No problem at all.
Be interesting to see what happens now, won't it? Because they both had a little bit of a breather heading into the final 30 seconds or so of round one, because when this break came, you would probably say that on balance Safronova had her nose in front in the round because she'd done the cleaner punching. As you mentioned, though, none of it was particularly heavy. It hasn't bothered LALBUATSAIHI, who would have figured out by now, really, I'd have said that SAFRONOVA can't really hurt her and she just needs to walk through her. And if she can finish strong in this round, well, she needs to finish strong in this round.
And it looks as though she's, just slightly bundled over there, I think, SAFRONOVA. And the referee was right on the spot, ruling it accordingly so. But yeah, I think she knows, LALBUATSAIHI, she knows exactly what she has to do. The method's right, the application's right. She might have to take one on the way in, potentially, but they are just kind of pot-shotting efforts, aren't they? Almost scoring, stay away from me shots from SAFRONOVA, rather than any kind of menace or power on them. And that might just encourage the boxer in blue.
I think so. I think SAFRONOVA's won that round because she was more accurate of the two, but I don't think that LALBUATSAIHI is going to go into rounds 2 or 3 with any particular fear. She's going to have to do this the hard way, as you said. She's going to have to wear a couple to get into range and let her own hands go, and that's just how she's going to have to do this. There's no other way. Every now and again she just sits down a little bit more on a 1-2 SAFRONOVA, and it looks capable of just stopping LALBUATSAIHI in her tracks, and she's probably going to need to do that a little bit more, because in rounds 2 and 3 now the Indian fighter's going to have to come after her, and I think she will. I don't think she's got any problem doing that.
So the scene is set. I think the first round, very much the template of what we can expect. I suppose the big question now going into round 2 and thinking about further ahead, should it go into round 3 as well, is how much of this energy and effort can LALBUATSAIHI keep up? Being picked off on the way in, how much of that is going to deter her or just maybe sap her energy? That's probably one of the biggest questions now as we head into round 2.
Well, when you fight in that kind of style, when you're looking to try and overwhelm an opponent and you know that you are going to take the odd shot, nice right hand there from LALBUATSAIHI, then you've got to have a good full tank, haven't you? You've got to have high fitness levels. That was one thing I noticed at the World Youths. A number of the Indian fighters did fight in similar styles, in that it was high octane stuff. They would throw plenty, they would catch a few, but they would throw plenty and they would be right on you for the entire 9 minutes. And LALBUATSAIHI's going to have to be cut from that kind of cloth to get this done.
She's unnerving, SAFRONOVA here. It's been a really good first minute for her, and I think the crucial change tactically between rounds is LALBUATSAIHI is, as she closes the gap, she's thrown the right hand on the way in, and that is starting to bear some fruit for her. She's landing it just about every time, and she's not having to work all that hard to do so. So already this pressure attack from LALBUATSAIHI just seems to be unsettling SAFRONOVA, and the way that she's kind of popping away with the jab, SAFRONOVA, I think it's the right tactic and it's the right application from LALBUATSAIHI. And there we see it again. She's just moving the head slightly off the centre line, just to her left. She's out of way of the lead jab, and then she's automatically coming over with the right hand, and it's work. It's easy enough for us to see, not seemingly easy for SAFRONOVA to get out of the way of it, and it seems to be working every single time in this second round. There it goes again, working perfectly for her.
Absolutely, that kind of lead right hand, she throws it and then she just moves straight in behind it, so even if she doesn't really land it, then SAFRONOVA can't get a counter away. We said in the first round that she needs to keep using that 1-2, needs to keep trying to snap out that jab, keep the punch output high, or LALBUATSAIHI would walk through her, and that's what has happened in the second round more often than not. But as you've been rightly pointing out, it's intelligent the way that she's done it, because at this level, if you do just walk in throwing punches apropos of nothing without any kind of plan, you will get slaughtered.
As Sever, we mentioned at the start of the night, didn't we, the tactical and technical nuances that can change in between rounds, either from a boxer on their own or through their team corner. And the big question now, Andy, that being asked, I think, of Safronova is, do you meet LALBUATSAIHI head on and try and punish her as she's coming forward? Or do you try another way, take a step to the side, take a step back? That's the big difficulty now, stick or twist. What's the answer to this surge of LALBUATSAIHI, who came in here as a late replacement with nothing to lose, and it looks to me like she's making it pay.
I don't think she'll really fancy holding her feet and going toe-to-toe with her, but if she's got to start making her turn and making her move, because LALBUATSAIHI will just come forward in a straight line. Basically, as you said, she's just taking that head off the punching line, just dipping that shoulder, throwing that right hand over the top. So there's just little adjustments that she's made there to make herself that little bit more difficult to hit on the way in. Safronova's got to keep her turning and keep her moving, not pull back in straight lines herself, and try and use these physical advantages that she does have. But if she's going to stand in front of LALBUATSAIHI, then she's got problems.
Maybe get off first might be part of it as we head into round 3 then. Such a good start for Safronova. We think probably won the first round behind the jab particularly. Strong second round from LALBUATSAIHI, who landed so many of those right hands. Now we see at the start of the third, Safronova try to get behind, popping the jab once again, trying to get off first. And so, it is intriguingly poised. And you wonder how much of the effort of that second round took out of LALBUATSAIHI as well, something we wondered stylistically right from the start.
Bit naughty that, just pushing off with the heel of her glove underneath the chin there, on the blind side of the referee who didn't see it.
A little bit of roughhousing, maybe a little bit of shoulder in there as well. Use any advantage. LALBUATSAIHI trying to do just that. Mind you, to be fair, I think she'll be arguing that Safronova's holding on and she just, you know, she's just trying to get herself a chance to fight. Is there a little bit of blood from the nose of Safronova too?
I think so, yes. I think just a little sliver just coming out at the end of the nose there, probably courtesy of that right hand. A bit messy as we just pass the midway point of round 3. No one's really got their nose in front in this round. If anything, maybe Safronova's done a bit better in this third and final round so far. Just got that distance more where she needs it. I think she might be feeling the pace a bit here, the Indian fighter. That was something you've alluded to.
And that, allied to Safronova, she's getting a jab off first, so trying to halt the retreat of LALBUATSAIHI on the way in, and that's very much working for her. It is a bit scrappy. She is picking some of her shots. There again, punches off first. That's a good right hand from Safronova, and this is some effort from her, because under that kind of pressure, mental and physical, through the second round, that was a tough round for her. The energy reserves must have been depleted. To get back on your boxing, technically, but also have to have the strength, the character, and the physical strength to do it as well. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, she's dug in, hasn't she, this third and final round. Maybe just put a little bit more meat on that 1-2, set her feet a touch more. And what's been quite clever too is that she's taken a trick out of LALBUATSAIHI's book to an extent, whereas LALBUATSAIHI would throw that single right hand and then move straight in. She's thrown that 1-2 and then moved straight in behind it and looked to tie her up. And it's what you were talking about earlier, throughout the course of these 3-minute rounds, it's a sprint, this format, but there's just so much that goes into it. You can't afford to make too many mistakes, but what you can't afford to do is not be able to react to what your opponent does when they change up. You have to change up again. It's as you said, it's move followed by move followed by move, and that was a good example of it in that fight there, I think.
It's like really technical cards, isn't it? Sort of raising your opponent and then being risen, raising your opponent again, and we've seen that throughout. A real credit to the boxers themselves in their corners, because I've not seen many fights tonight so far where it's followed one pattern. There's been a roller coaster. And great credit to Milana Safronova, who would have come in here fancied to win this on paper, but she was being asked some serious questions throughout. Now, she won it on 3 of the cards by 3 rounds, but the other 2 she lost by a point, and the other 2 was how Andy and I largely saw it. But great credit to the way she turned that around, because that was set up for LALBUATSAIHI to finish strongly, and she found another gear, she found another answer. Absolutely,
she took that first round from where we were sitting anyway, she did, and then LALBUATSAIHI won the second and won it quite comprehensively, and the momentum was with her at that point, we felt. And then in that third round she managed to come up with a plan and executed it to see her way through to a gold medal, another gold medal for Kazakhstan.
That's 5 out of 6, Andy, isn't it, so far? What a fantastic return for them. And still plenty more to come. They've still got 3 more finalists from the forward as well. So that's a splendid return with the promise of more.
Well, we've got another Kazakhstan against Uzbekistan final coming up at welterweight next in the ring. Valentina Kaltsova of Kazakhstan, Navbakor Kamedova of Uzbekistan.
And this could be a cracker, actually, because they've both got pedigree, haven't they? They both know how to win medals. They both know how to get it done, either here or in big tournaments across the world. So I'm really looking forward to this one.
So coming into the red corner, there's that familiar Kazakhstan flag just coming in ahead of Valentina Kaltsova. This is her first fight of the competition, a sparsely populated division, welterweight, in this Asian Championships for the women. So she got a bye into the final, which in one way you could look at as being an advantage, in another way you could look at it as being a disadvantage, because Kamedova of Uzbekistan, who's making her way to the blue corner here, she has got a fight under her belt, and it was a big win, split decision 3-2 in the semi-finals against a good fighter in Lovlina Borgohain of India, a former World Championship bronze medalist who's qualified for the Tokyo Olympics, Kamedova 20 years old.
I think that's exactly the question, and it's too easy, Andy, isn't it? When there's been a hard, close fight, it's too easy to use that as a down player, as a marker of critique or criticism. That when actually that could be a positive. You've been road tested. You've come through it, and maybe learn from the experience, get better from it. So yeah, open to interpretation. That maybe we're going to get a clue. But it's a good matchup. This, looking forward to it.
So Kaltsova in the red, boxing for Kazakhstan. Kamedova of Uzbekistan in the blue, and Kazakhstan have swept almost everything before them in these finals so far. And Kamedova just looking aggressive there, just walking across to the centre of the ring and letting her hands go. And she continues to do exactly that, the fighter in blue. Technique looks a little bit ragged at times. Kaltsova with a more kind of textbook look too. I fell short with the right hand there though, and just got herself into a little bit of trouble. She looks like the kind of fighter, Kamedova, who will just try to get into range, and then once she's in range, will punch. Sounds quite basic, quite simple, but she doesn't seem to have any great fear about what's coming back in the opposite direction. She just wants to get close enough to get her work done. Lead right hand there was a good shot from Kaltsova. That got straight through, jab to the body.
Well, essentially, Andy, I mean, more so in the old days with computer scoring, but it is still basic maths when it comes to boxing. If I land more punches than you, I'm going to win, or should do. And there is a playing the percentages approach from Kamedova. She's happy to miss 1 or 2 in throwing 5 or 6 if she lands 1 or 2. And so far, that's kind of working for her.
Absolutely, we saw a similar kind of thing, didn't we, in that final between TURDIBEKOVA and KUKHTA. KUKHTA, the more correct fighter, the better balanced fighter, the easier fighter on the eye. TURDIBEKOVA threw more punches, sometimes a little bit clumsy, but got through with enough of them to win the fight. There's that lead right hand again there, though, from KUKHTA. That's twice now that's got through and just caught Kamedova, who just didn't seem to see it coming at all. And those are eye-catching punches, easy to see. You can see the reaction when the head snaps back. Lead left hand just got through there for KUKHTA as well, who, as the round progresses, is maybe just coming to terms a bit more with this kind of marauding style from Kamedova.
That's an excellent jab, isn't it? And she's just maybe got her mojo, her rhythm. I suppose the danger for, if you're KUKHTA, you know that if you miss, you're going to be made to pay, because your opponent Kamedova is going to throw 3, 4, 5 in quick succession. So you just have to make sure, you have to commit and be accurate. You can understand why she might have been a little hesitant, maybe just overwhelmed in the first 30 or so seconds. But things have settled down now, and the jab is working particularly well.
Bell goes at the end of the first, and you mentioned that they both got good CVs. These two. KUKHTA won the Strandja tournament this year, 2016 world champion. 5 fights she had to win to secure that in Astana. Began boxing in 2009, 25 years old. Kamedova 5 years younger, from a wrestling background, interestingly. And she's certainly got quite a physical kind of approach to her boxing, but as the round progressed, she just got caught a bit too often. In the opening stages, did have successes, and as you say, threw more, missed more, but probably landed more as well. And then in the second half of the round, got picked off to fairly good effect by KUKHTA.
Yeah, it was kind of technique over effort and industry, wasn't it, ultimately? It looked as though KUKHTA started to work things out. But as we've seen throughout the evening, the gap in between rounds affords an opportunity. And so far tonight, the play has changed one way and another.
So into the second round, Valentina KUKHTA of Kazakhstan in the red. Navbakur Kamedova of Uzbekistan with that big win over Lovlina Borgohain of India in her semi-final. She's in the blue.
Really like the way that KUKHTA got on her toes there. She's really sharp and fast with the jab, and then the straight right hand as well. You can see that the talent and the technique is there now that she's found her rhythm, and she's starting to time Kamedova as she's coming in. And now, Andy, which is a bit of a worry if you're the boxer in blue, she's not just countering, she's starting to dictate things as well, which would be a bit of a worry.
Nice right hand there, just stitched in from the waist from KUKHTA, who's just throwing in the odd feint now as well, trying to trigger something from Kamedova, who dips her head low as she comes in there. Just a little uppercut on the inside there from KUKHTA. Having a decent second round so far. Kamedova just slightly more circumspect now, not quite so keen to close that gap as quickly and let those hands go.
Yeah, she's looking sharp here, KUKHTA over there, and she's making Kamedova pay every time she makes any kind of mistake. Slightly falling over the front foot, the Uzbek boxer, but everything's being controlled by KUKHTA now. She's looking pretty impressive. slightly unusual this event this time around in the current circumstances, Andy. Generally, you know, to get to winning the gold medal, you might have had 3 or 4 fights already. You can really work yourself into a tournament through performances. And in this event, some of the weight classes, they might only be having one, 2 fights en route to the final. So that can be a positive in terms of freshness. It also, for some fighters who maybe thrive on busyness and competition, and something of a hindrance.
And I think we saw that, didn't we, in the opening minute maybe of round 1. It took Kaltsova a little bit of time to kind of compute this rugged, quite route 1 approach from Kamedova. It's not like she won't have seen it before. These are experienced fighters, they've seen most styles, but I think for that reason maybe it would just take you a little bit of time to hit your stride. But I think she did so in the second half of the first round, and then continued that in the second round there. Kamedova will keep coming, that's for sure. But you're right. We're still in a very unusual place globally, and it's great to see this competition happening. It really is. It would be more deeply populated, these weight divisions, under normal circumstances.
Landed a few right hands there, Kamedova, but again the kind of quality work seemed to come from that lady Valentina Kaltsova. You can see why she's won all those national titles. You can see why she's bagged a world crown as well, or world crowns, I should say.
So into the third round, Valentina Kaltsova, Kazakhstan in the red, Nafkabur Kamedova, Uzbekistan in the blue. It's the final in the welterweight division, 69 kilos. We've got middleweights, light heavyweights and heavyweights to come after this. And Kazakhstan looking to continue their dominance. They've won 5 out of 6 finals so far. Nice jab to the body there from Kaltsova.
And it underlines, Andy, doesn't it, with it, you know, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, now India as well. It does show you, and we've kind of hinted at this one way or another. Really, there can be various reasons for it, but it shows you how competition, you know, success breeds success, first of all. But also, if you've got a pool of fighters like Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan do in the various women's divisions, the sparring's great. One fighter pulling on another, you know, you think of, you know, Savannah Marshall, for example, in Britain, might have been one of the few middleweights around. Sparring for her was thin on the ground. She'd have to spar men to really get proper competition. So the fact that there's so many more women boxers currently in those parts of the world, that's one of the reasons that the strength and depth. The depth of talent, the pool of talent is greater, and that's why the success comes quicker, and it will continue to be like that. And then the whole sport is going to move on again and again and again in the next 5-10 years because of that. The more young women that are getting into it, the better the competition, and therefore the sport and those divisions thrive in the various countries all across the world.
Absolutely. I know that India and Uzbekistan shared a training camp for about a month in the lead up to this, and that's a perfect illustration of what you were just talking about, because you look at the finalists that we've seen today: 9 from Kazakhstan, 6 from Uzbekistan, 4 from India, 1 from Indonesia. And as soon as you get a taste of operating at that highest level, what you'll go and seek out as much as you can is the best possible conditions for preparation, for practice. Sports psychologists often talk about athletes not rising to the occasion, but performing to the level of their training. That's what they say happens when you really get under the gun and you're looking for an answer. Just falling short with the left hand there and the right as she tried to move in. Kamedova into the final knockings of round 3. Kaltsova looking to launch a right hand there, and she seems happy as she heads back to the red corner. There was a slight celebration though also from Kamedova as she walked back to the blue corner, but for us watching on, pretty clear over the course of that 3 rounds who was the more technically correct and more gifted fighter, if you like, but that's not always enough to win. KYZAIBAY, though, I think has demonstrated over those 9 minutes that she deserves to get the decision here.
Yeah, the gap wasn't perhaps as obvious in the final round. They looked like they were both tiring, but it looks like we're going to get that decision.
Well, it's another one for Kazakhstan by unanimous decision, and 4 scores rather, of 30 points to 27, so that translates as 3 rounds to 0. The other one was 29-28, so 2 rounds to 1, and that was a good display from KYZAIBAY. Hadn't been called into action in the competition until today, but then after possibly a little bit of a slow start in those opening 30 seconds, she just had a look at Kamedova and figured out the best way forward, and early on that single lead right hand did well for her. And it's another gold medal for Kazakhstan, and this is turning into some evening for them so far.
6 out of 7 with a couple more still to come, although no Kazakh representative in the middleweight division anymore. Uzbekistan and India are going to be boxing off for that gold medal in our next contest. She was confident coming into it. Took her 30 seconds to warm to the task, I think, KYZAIBAY. But once she found her groove and her rhythm, she certainly showed her class and her experience and her pedigree, and bags herself another gold medal. We'll have those ceremonies coming up a little later on.
Bout number 118. Weight category, women's medal. 75 kilograms. Referee in the ring is representing Turkey. Judges are from Hungary, Croatia, Egypt, Philippines, and Kazakhstan. In the red corner, representing Uzbekistan, Mavluda Mavlanova.
First up then is Mavluda Mavlanova, southpaw representing Uzbekistan, national champion of course, and a little bit of championship and world championship experience coming into this too. And she's been pretty busy, already winning an event in 2021 with that under her belt, ready to go for gold. And she's up against the 2019 champion, and that is Pooja from India, another Indian representative going for gold on the back of that magnificent 7 for them at the Youth Championships in Poland recently. She had a walkover in the previous round, so hasn't actually boxed so far in the competition. Is that going to hinder, or mean that she comes here fresh and ready to be let off the leash?
Well, Mavlanova had a tasty one in her semi-final, beat Marina Volnova of Kazakhstan on a split 3-2. And she actually had a point deducted in the second round for what looked like not really responding to instructions. That was what the referee seemed to be indicating. It wasn't completely clear which instruction, if any, he was referring to. It could have been a kind of repeat offence, and it all came down to one judge in the end who had it 28-28. As for a decision there, the judge went in favour of Mavlanova. So that's why we don't have, for the only time tonight, we don't have a Kazakh fighter in the final.
Shades of the Cubans, isn't it? Really, at their very best, dominating divisions. Here we go then, into the first round of this one. And Mavlanova in the red, the southpaw, up against currently in the southpaw stance as well. Pooja, she's got plenty of pedigree and experience herself. Just a lovely, careful step out. Lets her hands go quite quickly. Shots to the body as well from Pooja. Well, we wondered if inactivity, let's not forget, Mavlanova as well has already been sort of relatively busy in competition so far, winning in Belgrade, has that under her belt, but Pooja's looking pretty sharp, to be honest, right from the start.
Yeah, she is, good balance about her, just kind of jogging up and down on the balls of her feet, just feinting with that front foot when she gets into distance. Doesn't waste any time in letting those hands go.
And making Mavlanova miss there too with the footwork, and so I'm no surprise that the footwork's pretty good in those snazzy pink boots. And that was a clever 1-2 there, punching out of the clinch too, so keeping busy Pooja. Bright start, excellent minute and a half from so far to start.
We're expecting to be competing on home turf, these Indian fighters as well, of course, with the competition originally scheduled for Delhi, so that will have been a disappointment, I'm sure, but the reasons for it completely understandable. She'd almost looked like she stopped there for a second, Mavlanova, and looked towards the referee, and Pooja just rattled her ribcage because there was no instruction coming.
And she's been doing that right from the start, hasn't she? There's a busyness as well as the tactics, sharpness and technique. That's the right hand in close. Maybe Mavlanova learned from the experience of that moment Andy described. Maybe Mavlanova just starting to find her feet towards the end of this round. Good round, good start. And pretty sharp despite the inactivity for the Indian boxer.
She's just very loose, isn't she? Very nice and relaxed. As I mentioned, just kind of just bobbing up and down slightly on the balls of her feet. Nothing major. She's not up on her toes, flying around. But just decent balance. Holds those gloves quite low, so relies generally on the reflexes to keep her out of trouble. But nice quick feet as well. Probably had the better of that opening round.
Here we can see some of that looseness perhaps, just tangling as they both missed in that skirmish. Pooja qualified for the Olympic Games. One of those boxers sort of thought that I can't even imagine the emotions over the course of the last year for those that had realized their dreams and then had them denied because of the world crises. And then left wondering. But at least to be back in competition, that's probably the most important thing for them right now. And although short of competition recently, Pooja's looking pretty sharp here again at the start of the second. There was a shout from the referee to stop, and when the head guard's on, Mavlanova can appeal to not have heard. That was a nice right hook from Mavlanova. She was clipped there up close. The referee suggesting it was inside of the arm or the glove.
Yes, just gesturing to the boxer that it was delivered with the inside of the glove. I'm not sure it was really. Left hand over the top there from Pooja. That was what she was looking for anyway. Didn't quite manage to land it. Good example of those feet just there. Just quick movement in, look for the jab, didn't quite reach. Rather than overstretch with it and lose that balance, just took those feet back out.
And I think one thing that the 2020 did afford lots of sportsmen and women, and is, you know, it's probably time to reflect on what it is they've been doing, what direction their careers were going in, and either to revise or renew, adopt different strategies, just to take a step back, maybe afford themselves a little space in their life, just to reevaluate what was working for them, or perhaps what they needed to do. So I suspect we'll see a bit of that in these events coming up.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it would have been a really good time if you're an athlete just to go back to absolute basics, because you wouldn't have had the facilities probably available to you that you would normally. Boxing is a pretty simple sport in terms of the kit that you need, the equipment that you need. That's one of the great attractions of it down the years. You don't need to have any money at all to get involved in this sport. And therefore, if you were just confined to your house, you would still be able to train fairly effectively. So there might have been a lot of drilling going on behind closed doors, just with those feet, using those ladders, shadow boxing in front of the mirror. Pooja just letting her hands go on the inside there as we tick up towards the end of round 2.
And there goes the bell. A pretty competitive round. That was perhaps more so than the opener. And that's one thing that occurred to me is you know, how many boxers have actually come out of lockdown, come back to competition in better shape than they were before, or perhaps some that have been overtraining and maybe not quite getting it right.
That was always going to be a problem, wasn't it? Whatever code you're in, when you don't have a date, keeping that motivation high when you don't know when you'll next be competing, can't be the easiest thing in the world. Absolutely not, particularly when you've got the uncertainty surrounding the Olympic Games. Even if you had qualified prior to it all beginning, which Pooja had, courtesy of that Asian Oceanian qualifier, which did get finished. No one's really known what's happening. So into the third round.
And a quick start from Movlanova, who may well need a big finish. Nice left hand there from her as well. Punching with a little more certainty at the start of this round. Oh, she was clipped again. That's a couple of times, Andy, isn't it, where I see either carelessness or inexperience. Something has cost her. She dropped her hands, or she's looked away. She's not been concentrating on the fighter in front of her, and she's paid for it.
Pooja's just a bit sharper, isn't she, in all departments, really. She looks the more seasoned of these two. They've both got a good amount of experience, but Pooja is 8 years older, 8 years wiser, you would say, has been around at this kind of level for a lot longer, and she looks at home in there. We said right from the beginning she looks nice and relaxed, she looks nice and loose, nice and fluid. She throws plenty but doesn't really load up with anything. That's a result of being in that kind of zen state of mind, if you like, inside the ring. Movlanova, by comparison, just looks a little bit tighter, at times a little bit more hesitant, as they both end up on the canvas there.
And I think because of that style that you're touching on with Pooja, that she is quite efficient, and you fancy that she's always boxing within herself in terms of energy, and that when it gets hard can only down the stretch be an advantage to her. She's done it again. She's made her opponent, Movlanova, she's made her miss one way or another. And with Movlanova either turning round or dropping her hands or not focusing and paying attention, she's had a free shot or two on several occasions now. 3 notable occasions that's happened.
I think she's feeling the pace of this, Mavlanova, now as we head towards the final stages of round 3.
Yeah, she's put in a big effort. There again, she's turned. I think she's basically inviting the referee to come and help her out. Nice solid jab there from Pooja. But she's put a lot into this, Mavlanova, in the final round. She really has tried. Not always worked for her. She had a good start with a flurry of punches in the opening 10-20 seconds. She has given it everything, but she's been a little bit frayed and loose. Very much jagged and tired, I think, in the last minute or so. You can see it's she's had to put in a shift here.
Pooja, by comparison, looks like she could do this for 10 or 15 rounds. It's been a good performance, really has. As you mentioned, she got a walkover against Mongolia in the semis, so this is her first fight of the competition. But she's won that one, and you'd say she's won it by a clear margin.
Big smile on her face when she turned away as well. They both punched the air, but the more convincing celebrations, I think, from Pooja. Great credit to Mavlanova. I think the effort that she put in that final round was absolutely terrific.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner representing India.
Pooja, she does it again. 2019 champion. 2 years on, in 21, she gets it done again. And that was a class performance, particularly given the potential for ring rust in a Sandy. That was a class act.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very experienced fighter. Has been operating at the highest level for a long time now. Won a silver medal at the Asian Championships back in 2012. So she knows exactly what this is all about, and wasn't put off in the slightest by the fact that, as you said, this was her first outing. She'll have been around this for the last 10 days almost. Athletes started to arrive around about the 20th, 21st, and she hasn't boxed until the second to last day. So that can get into your head. If you're a less experienced kind of operator, you could burn a bit of nervous energy watching your teammates, fretting about what may or may not be to come down the line for you. But she obviously hasn't spent any of her time doing that, none whatsoever. That was indicated by her performance. Absolutely. Be very interesting to see her go in the Olympic Games.
Well, she was one of 2 gold medals at these championships in 2019. 13 medals in all for India at those championships. Still got an opportunity to match the gold tally with Anna Palmer coming up in the heavyweight final in 2 fights' time. Still got 2 more light heavyweight and heavyweight bouts, and India represented in the 81 plus kilograms. So a chance to match that gold medal tally from a couple of years ago.
Weight category, women's light heavy, 81 kilograms. Referee in the ring is representing Ireland. Judges are from United Arab Emirates, Slovakia, Kyrgyzstan, Romania, and Croatia. In the red corner, representing Uzbekistan, Rozmetova Shokuiba.
So Sakiva Rozmetova of Uzbekistan is somebody I saw a lot in the World Youths a few weeks ago. She was in my ring for all of her fights. She won a bronze medal, losing to Diana Dide of Kazakhstan in the semi-finals. She's a good fighter, Rozmetova, strong fighter, can punch. Quite a kind of robotic, mechanical look about her. She looks to get into range and land that 1-2, but it's a good, solid 1-2. And she's up against Fariza Sholtai of Kazakhstan. Rozmetova got a bye into the final, so this is her first fight of the competition. We've been outlining the potential advantages and disadvantages therein. For Sholtai, she beat Sawiti of India by split 4-1 in the semi-finals. Has boxed at a couple of World Championships before reaching the quarter-finals, a bronze at this competition 2 years ago. For Rusmatova, this is her first senior international tournament. She did win silver at the Uzbekistan National Seniors. So she does have experience of boxing outside of the youth level, which is important when you make this kind of step up. She very nearly won that semi-final against Diday of Kazakhstan. She was coming on strong in the third and final round, did some damage in the final 25-30 seconds, but just couldn't quite do enough in the end. And what Sholtai cannot do, the Kazakhstan fighter in blue, is allow Rusmatova to settle into some kind of rhythm. As I said, she can be quite basic. She looks for that 1-2, but if she gets a range with it and starts landing it, then you've got a problem. So Sholtai in the blue, boxing for Kazakhstan. She's in the southpaw stance, and Rusmatova again there, just straight away looks to let that right hand go, but catches a left hand herself. Very lively start to this one. Both landing pretty heavy backhands. A right hand getting through from Rusmatova, that left hand from Sholtai, and I think Rusmatova felt that. Left hand there from Rusmatova finds Sholtai. She was kind of chasing her around the ring a bit there. There's that southpaw left again from Sholtai, and that's going to be a problem for Rusmatova if that's going to just snake through and find the target every time she throws it. Could well be the battle of the backhands, this one.
Heads coming a bit close together there, Andy, as well, when I think they're both so intent on landing that big left hand. There's a little bit of meaning about this through the first minute.
There's that left, just gets through from Sholtai once more there. Rusmatova's got to try and move ahead off the punching line there, because that's not doing her any favours. A little bit of blood maybe just coming from the bottom of the nose there of Rusmatova, who again just pulls back in straight lines there, and the left hand gets through from Sholtai. Rusmatova looking for her right, didn't quite manage to land it. But as I said, she can crack, so Sholtai's got to be careful of that. Really, for the Kazakh fighter, you would say the key here is just to keep popping off that 1-2, because the left hand, most times she throws it, manages to find the target. It's a bit of a gruelling one, this one, though, isn't it? Through 2 minutes, you know, there's been a lot of leather thrown here. Quite a lot of it's landed. Yeah,
that's exactly what I was just thinking, Andy. The work rate, the punch output, also the weight, the heaviness of the shots. They're really putting everything into it. Obviously, Rusmatova's looking for that big right hand. I think the left hand of Sholtai's been the eye-catching shot of the first round so far, and she's maybe landed that a little more accurately. And Rusmatova, who of course went out to a Kazakh boxer in Poland, didn't he? You'd have seen that in the semis. Lo and behold, she's got another one in the way for gold tonight.
She was at 75 kilos at the World Youths as well. She's at 81 here, and that's, well, I mean, that's basically another stone, isn't it? 2.2 pounds to a kilo. You're looking at a lot of extra weight there. She doesn't look like there's anything spare on her either, and that was, well, that was a very interesting opening round, and a flavour of what we're going to get through rounds 2 and 3. Of the two, it was the fighter in blue, I would say, who did the more accurate work, but Rusmatova, as I mentioned, she's just going to keep coming forward, throwing that 1-2. She could do with moving ahead a bit more, particularly to get out of the way of that left hand. We're probably going to see one now, are we? There we go. That only just reached that one, though. It didn't cause any great damage.
you fancy, Andy, that something's got to give, and the question is, what's that going to be? Is it the work rate? Perhaps is the pace going to dip, and if it does, who does that suit? You'd maybe lean towards Szoltai and that left hand, but perhaps. But yeah, it's just wondering what's going to be the difference here. They went off at such a pace.
So into the second round, the light heavyweight final at the Asian Championships. So Sakiba Rusmatova of Uzbekistan is in the red, Fariza Szoltai of Kazakhstan is in the blue, and they pick up at the start of the second exactly where they left off at the end of the first. They've been punching with intent from the beginning here, looking to set those feet, dig those toes in, and do some damage.
A couple of really sharp body shots coming in there as well from Szoltai, who's sharp with the 1-2. Good work up close, little sneaky uppercut. That was quite clever. She's starting to pick her shots, isn't she, at the start of this round? This is a really good start to the round. I wondered, if the pace dropped, would that suit the boxer in blue? Maybe that's what's happening.
Good right hand there, though, from Rusmatova. Left hand straight down the middle, though, again from Szoltai. And as we said in the first, this has been an intense opening minute, a damaging first minute, and most of the damage is being done by Szoltai at the moment. Rusmatova has worn a few pretty solid blows in this first 80 seconds of the round. She's managed to give a couple back herself, so Szoltai has got to be careful. But the first half of the round here, this second, she has bossed it, the Kazakh fighter. Nice little uppercut on the inside there as well.
Oh, it's been a torrid minute and a half for the boxer in red. I think it's fair to say Rusmatova's taken a lot of leather here through the first couple of minutes. Since the accuracy, I said that maybe the pace would dip, not a bit of it. Szoltai's had her foot to the floor, and the accuracy with which he's landing these shots, particularly the left hand, the uppercuts, that's 3 of them so far in those close-up exchanges as well. She's doing a little bit of everything. And if anything, she's doing more of it through this round. Really impressive stuff.
Rusmatova has got a chin, that's for sure. She's not showing any kind of visible reaction to anything that's landed, even though a lot of it has been solid. If she had have done, then the referee would have jumped in with a standing count, because given the accuracy and the weight of punch that has landed at times from Szoltai, up against other fighters, I'm sure you would have seen the referee get in there and give that 8 count. Rusmatova is hanging in there, even though this has been a difficult round for her, this second round so far.
I think you're right. If this carries, if Szoltai's still got plenty in the tank, then this could be a tough final round for Rusmatova, because she took a lot of shots there. Great credit to her that she got through that. That was relentless from Szoltai, from start to finish in that second round. She was landing punches at will, and she was landing just about every shot in the book. The left hand to head and body, the uppercut in close. We saw 3 of those when they were in the clinch. Great credit to Rusmatova that she was able to last out. How much of that is taken out of either of them would be the big question, and how much more can Rusmatova either take or give back in return?
You saw Rusmatova at the end of the round there, when the bell went, just put her right glove on the top rope just to steady herself, and was quite slow getting back to the corner. But as the replay showed there, she is still capable of landing some heavy blows herself, so Szoltai has got to be aware of that. She won't want to be too gung-ho in this final round, but then she wasn't in the second. It was measured stuff. It wasn't reckless in any way, and then just starts the round in good fashion there too, leading off with a right hand, goes downstairs with the left, straight left hand upstairs, and this is a really good start to the round here from Szoltai, and the referee does step in with the standing count, and you can completely understand why he has, because she cannot miss with that left hand. Featherweight Sholtai, whether she goes down to the body or whether she goes up to the head. Swings it in from wide that time, and again just collects Rusmatova.
There was a huge left hand in there as well, and after the referee just stepped in, and I think he stepped in probably as much as anything because of what went on in the second round, because the pressure was just relentless, and it was a case of what happened in the second round carrying on right away into the third, and the referee called into question. But not for the first time over the course of the last 4 minutes. We're commenting on the toughness of Rusmatova, because it looked like she was in real trouble at the start of this round, and not only is she still there, but she's trying to fight back.
Jab there from Sholtai, landed, and her work rate has just dipped after that opening minute. Unsurprisingly, she's put plenty into that first minute. Came out quick. I think she's probably realised now that whatever she does, she's not going to get Rusmatova out of there, and she's got this fight under control, so she just doesn't really need to do anything crazy or reckless in this final portion of the fight. I think she'll know that she's well ahead here, because every time she throws that left hand, she lands it. The only way this can really go wrong is if she gets caught with something herself, which is a possibility against somebody like Rusmatova, because she can punch.
And amazing to remember that she's only 19 as well, Rusmatova. You know, in those youth championships, it is a case of youth versus experience. And, you know, 2 years ago, Sholtai was only just edged out in the semi by Puja, who we've just seen that kind of back class. Maybe just backstage seen Puja just minutes before, might have just rekindled the memory, it reminded her of the motivation, reminded her of her own back form. Anyway, either which way, she has put in a performance tonight, and the effort from both of them has been absolutely terrific, second to none.
Well, final few seconds, it has been a really good watch right from the beginning. Nice jab there from Sholtai. There goes the clapper, 10 seconds remaining, and this is going to be another gold medal for Kazakhstan, which would make it 7 out of 8 so far on the night, with the other 2 going to Uzbekistan and India. The bell goes at the end of that light heavyweight final. Good fight, really good fight between these two. You suspected it was going to be entertaining. Rusmatova really knows only one way, which is to come forward and keep throwing punches. It's a method she might have to refine a little bit. Not that it hasn't brought her success, because obviously it has, but in that final against Featherweight Sholtai, the Kazakh fighter, 6 years his senior as a 25-year-old, and with a wealth more senior international experience, just knew a bit too much for her.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner representing Kazakhstan.
So Sholtai gets it by unanimous decision. And as I said, that makes it 7 out of 8 for Kazakhstan. A couple of 10-8 rounds in there for the bottom 2 judges, who scored at 30 points to 26. In AIBA boxing, judges can score 10-9, 10-8 or 10-7, purely down to how dominant they feel a fighter has been. If you score a standing counter or a knockdown, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will win that round 10-8 or 10-7. If you score 2, that's not a consideration. It's the overall picture that you're looking to interpret. So you do see a good number of 10-8s. You don't see many 10-7s, but they're possible, although quite rare. It's a good scoring system.
Sholtai's a handful, Andy, isn't she? Absolute handful. She's got the technique, the work rate tonight. It was a case of coming out tonight just saying to herself and her opponent, I am not going to be denied tonight. There is nothing you're going to do that I can or won't do or are not prepared to do. She was relentless, absolutely relentless. We thought that Volossenko probably had boxer of the night sewn up, but I think you'd have to say that Sholtai's given her, in a different way, a similar way in some regards, to giving her a run for her money.
Absolutely. absolutely. And she needed to bring that kind of performance, because any let up
number 120.
and she'd been under pressure herself.
Weight category, women's heavy, plus 81 kilograms. Referee in the ring is representing Slovakia. Judges are from Iran, Ireland, Egypt, Turkey, and Romania. In the red corner, representing India, Anupama.
Final bout of the night then, final gold medal up for grabs, and an opportunity for Anupama to give India their second gold of the night. Only 22, and already with that bronze from the World Championships a few years ago as well. So she's got a bit of pedigree, and of course the country buzzing right now in the boxing. And she's up against KUKHTA, who's a national champion. I think she's won gold in both of the tournaments that she's entered latterly. And the lady from Astana, the elder by quite some way. He's a dozen years older than Anupama. How much of that is going to come to bear tonight? Is it youth over age and experience? We shall find out. Just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, getting everything ready. I suspect that the stomach's churning a little. Usually these boxers, that's it. Right up until that first bell sounds, and then down to business. And we are at the very business end of this boxing evening. Make sure you rejoin us again tomorrow. We'll have 10 men's finals for you as well. Really looking forward to all of that. Got 3 Indian boxers involved in that, from Amit in the flyweight division, and of course the great Shiva Thapa as well at light welters in action, one of the Indian representatives tomorrow night. 10 more gold medals up for grabs. KUKHTA looking to get on the front foot. Boxer in blue right from the start, and you can see the size difference. She had that stoppage victory in the first round in the semi-finals. KUKHTA. It looks like she started with a similar intent here, Andy.
Absolutely. Looking to just try and shuffle away into range, keeping that high guard, trying to move the head a little bit as well, and then trying to let her hands go the first opportunity she gets. Anupama under pressure is using that periphery of the ring more, just trying to keep her moving and turning.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You can see what they're both trying to do, and Anupama in red, she's just trying to move around the target. Is KUKHTA coming forward aggressively, just clipped her with the left hand there, KUKHTA, but I think the right sort of tactics from both of them. KUKHTA missed wildly with the right hand, but she very nearly connected with that short right there. So intriguingly set up, this one, tactically. And now Anupama trying to connect, and as KUKHTA comes forward, trying to make her pay. She just, as Andy was saying before there, she's just trying to offset her, just to slightly move her off balance and then hit her with 1 or 2 counters. There she is again, just moving off to her right, looking to come back with the right hand. Interesting tactical approach here, and I suppose Anupama as well will be hoping that just maybe as this one goes on, that a little bit of the the steam and fizzle out of the attack of KUKHTA.
Looking for a big right hand there, KUKHTA, wasn't she? And for all the reasons you've just outlined there, you summed it up perfectly. This is a really interesting fight because in terms of those gas tanks, I think that's key, isn't it? Because Anna Palmer is being made to work hard here. She's able to land on KUKHTA, which the judges will see, and that can win her rounds, but she's not able to put any kind of dent in her or hurt her. And when they get in a clinch like they are there, you can see how much kind of heavier and stronger KUKHTA is.
Not quite connecting with a couple of those shots, Anna Palmer. Oh, it's a fantastic first round. Really interestingly poised. The two very different sets of tactics. And how much of this is going to bear on Anna Palmer, who was made to work hard, but she did look as though she knew exactly what she had to do, even although she wasn't necessarily able to do it all the time.
She knows the plan, doesn't she? She absolutely knows the plan. She's got to keep her opponent that we're looking at there, as we said, turning and moving, make her offset, have to regather and start again. KUKHTA, from her standpoint, she knows exactly what she wants to do as well, which is, you know, to try and stay patient as you can in a 3-round fight, not start to swing for the fences, get those feet close enough, just keep walking her down, keep that guard and just land, because she knows that every time she lands she's going to take something away from it. Try and make that ring a small place.
And it was noticeable there as we head into round 2, some of those highlights, how the difference when KUKHTA can manage to land her jab on the way in, the difference that was making to her and the effect it was having on Anna Palmer.
She's got bronzes, KUKHTA, in the last 3 Asian Championships, so she's gone one better here, certainly, but she'll 100% want that gold.
Just missing with the right hand. Mouth open a little bit, Anna Palmer. It is and it kind of bundled over there. It is getting a bit harder, isn't it, for her? Sort of strength and experience. There's the jab that I was talking about before, KUKHTA. If she can land that on the way in, then everything else gets a little easier for her, and her size and strength might just come to bear.
Not quite halfway through this second round, and I think Anna Palmer's got some problems here.
Yeah, I don't know if she was hurt to the body there, Andy, but she just was kind of touching that side of her body with the right hand a little low, and the hands are getting lower, the mouth is getting wider, just all the telltale signs that things are physically getting more demanding, getting harder all the while. And I thought she handled herself well through the first round, but clearly it's getting tougher for her now.
Well, she just managed to stick a nice jab there as KUKHTA was coming forward. There just seems to be an increasing threat level here from KUKHTA, but having said that, she hasn't landed anything particularly major in this second round. The look of the fight at the minute is that KUKHTA is going to get to Anna Palmer, but it hasn't really happened. So Anna Palmer could, you know, she could be winning this second round still, despite the kind of aesthetic of it, if you like. It's about what lands, and KUKHTA has landed a couple of fairly solid shots. Anna Palmer has maybe looked a little bit desperate at times when she's ditched a few in off the back foot, but it doesn't matter what it looks like. She won't be sorry to get a bit of a breather here.
No, not at all. Well, that is a welcome respite. And there's another one just around the corner with 30 seconds or so to go in this second round. And a little bit of remedial work required. Not quite Polly Malignaggi style measures required here, thankfully.
That was Buddy McGirt, wasn't it? We were talking to him about that. a few weeks ago when he was over in the UK training.
Sure, boxing fans will remember Paulie Malignaggi when he fought at Eastland's Main Road on a Ricky Hatton big bill. I presume that was Hatton against Lizcano a few years ago, and I think Malignaggi boxed. He had big dreadlocks and he fought Lovamore Undo, and the dreadlocks kept coming out, and in the end they ended up cutting them off, didn't they?
They did. It was a drastic measure which had to be made. Yes, Buddy McGirt was over in the UK. He was training Derek Chisora against Joseph Parker, and yeah, you see all sorts of things. They've certainly both managed to get a decent rest in there.
And probably required, Andy, the kind of pace off it. I think particularly Anna Palmer, who just seemed to be fraying a little around the edges. How much of that has come to bear on the scorecards, we will see.
Just this closing spell of the round here is just quite a good example of what I was talking about before we had that break, because in this 25-30 seconds, Kungabayeva is prowling. She's on the way in. She's looking for a big shot. She looks capable of landing one, but she hasn't. And while she hasn't been doing that, Anna Palmer has, okay, been up on her toes, flying this way, that way, but has landed 2 or 3 punches. And it's real hard work, this. This is a hard way to win a fight, but I think at the moment she probably is winning the fight.
It's a good point, and it's a fair point as well. As much as it's appeared hard work for Anna Palmer, and as much as she's been, you know, mouth wide open and hands getting a bit lower throughout that round, how effective was Kungabayeva is the big question you have to ask yourself when you're trying to score this one. How many shots was she actually landing? Coming forward, making it difficult, making it uncomfortable, but how many scoring shots was she actually landing? And that's probably the biggest question of that round particularly.
100%, and that is what it's all about. That left hand there, you see, that landed on the target. It's not bothered Kungabayeva at all, but that's not what matters. Decent jab there again, off the back foot, just throws that jab, catches her on the way in.
Into round 3 then. And one thing's for sure, Kungabayeva is going to come forward, give it everything. Can she start to land some of those shots? A nice little right hand off the break from Anna Palmer. And there's no doubt, as hard as it's been, as physically demanding as it has been, and the mental pressure being applied as well, with the finishing line in sight, it's a galvanizing effect for fighters, isn't it, for boxers, physically and mentally.
Absolutely. 30 seconds or so into this third and final round, and Anna Palmer in the red of India, Kungabayeva in the blue there, boxing for Kazakhstan. And it's been the same kind of formula to this fight right from the very beginning.
And of course we're just calling the fights, but of course everyone from both of the respective boxing federations and internationally from their respective countries as well, they probably set themselves targets at the start of games and events, don't they? Maybe the fact that India got 2 gold medals a couple of years ago at these championships, maybe that was the benchmark that was set before. And of course, if Anna Palmer could win, then that second gold medal would be assured. But Kazakhstan have won 7 out of the 9 so far. And here with an opportunity, if Kungabayeva in the blue could come out on top tonight, to make it 8 out of 10, which would be quite some haul.
Kungabayeva in the last 30-40 seconds just beginning to manhandle Anna Palmer a little bit more. Got through with 2-3 decent shots. Anna Palmer has got to try and keep moving those feet as much as she possibly can. It's hard for her in there, of course it is. It has been from the beginning, but she's got to try and keep that mobility if she can.
And she just turned around or turning away. Again, it's getting hard and physically demanding. This is exactly what we we saw previously, and I think that big long break to rescue the hair and change the head guard, I think it's quite a significant moment for Anna Palmer in the fight. But not been an easy one to score. You wouldn't be surprised if just the sheer come forward nature of the fight from KUKHTA was what the judges were going to reward. Wouldn't be shocked if some of the punch picking the other way was respected by the judges. We're about to find out. That was a tough, hard 3-round encounter for both of them. They put plenty into that.
It's a good fight to watch, really good one to finish with. I would definitely have gone KUKHTA's way with that final round. The first two, not easy to score, as you say. The dynamic of it was that you've got KUKHTA on the front foot looking to try and walk her opponent down, but it's about what lands. And Anna Palmer could easily have done enough to win those first 2 rounds on that, by that very criteria, which is the criteria when it comes to scoring boxing of any description, whatever code. I would definitely have gone the blue corner for the 3rd round, but you could go red corner with the first 2 rounds.
There'll be plenty of respect between them, won't there? Here we go then, let's find out. Split decision, it was close, no surprise. KUKHTA it is, who just rests the gold medal, and only just. They'll both sleep well tonight.
Well, split decision, and that doesn't come as any surprise. So 2 scores of 29-28 there for KUKHTA, 2 scores of 29-28 for her opponent Anna Palmer, and then the other card was 3-0 in favour of KUKHTA. Close fight, as we said, all the way through. Close fight. You knew what you were looking at there. You had one fighter who was trying to walk the opponent down, who was looking more proactive, more aggressive. The other one on the back foot, looking to try and use the periphery of the ring, land shots and then move away. And Anna Palmer almost got that done. It's a very difficult way to win a fight, but it was the only way she could go about it, really. She was giving away size and weight, and if she just locked horns with KUKHTA in the centre of the ring, then she would have lost. I mean, there's no 2 ways about that.
And that was a really good shot, that, wasn't it? You saw that right hand, which if you'd have been sitting on one side of the ring, you wouldn't have necessarily seen that shot because KUKHTA was in the way. So, as ever, it's not always straightforward. It's not simple. And when you have 2 contrasting styles as well, it might be easier to appreciate or acknowledge or respect one over the other. So, tough, competitive, not easy to score a contest, and no surprise that it was a split decision in the end. And it's KUKHTA. That's, I suppose, Andy, if at first you don't succeed, just keep trying, and KUKHTA very much, that's the story of her Asian Championship success.
Absolutely. She's been boxing this level for a long time now. She's been around at the highest level for a good while. Got a World Championship silver back in 2014. Took up boxing 12 years ago now. So a gold medal at the Asian Championships will mean an awful lot to her at 34 years old. And what a day for Kazakhstan. They went into the day with 9 finalists. 8 out of those 9 have managed to win. The other 2 gold medals going to Uzbekistan and to India. And we see some really good fights, some really good performances. Those last 2 at light heavy and heavyweight in particular, between Rusmatova and Sholtai, and then Anna Palmer and KUKHTA. Really tough, attritional, torrid was a word I think you used to describe that final fight at one stage. Kinds of fights they were, and as I was saying early on, just the kind of fights that you wouldn't have seen when we had the previous scoring system. So it's been a good watch.
We will start the medal ceremony of the 64 kilogram weight category. سيداتي وسادتي، سنبدأ الآن حفل تتويج الفائزين لوزن 64 كيلوغرام. We would like to welcome Mr. Ali Taklif, ASBC EC member, to the stage, and Ms. Civilian Gosla Aiba Aranjes, Committee Vice Chair.
And it's the medal ceremonies to finish up then, with the remaining gold, silver and bronze to be handed out after the remaining 5 bouts from this evening. This is from the light welterweight division. Super light, of course, they describe it internationally these days, but what a contest this was between MILANA, SAFRONOVA and LALBUATSAIHI.
Representing Kuwait, Noura Al-Mtari.
Al-Mtari of Kuwait getting a bronze medal.
Winner representing Uzbekistan, Mughambouni Abdulleva.
Wakilabonu Abdulleva, the other bronze medalist. I didn't see her at the step there, but I saw her in the World Youth Championships where she got a silver medal. Good fighter, but Safronova dealt with her quite comfortably in her semi-final. And as you say, this was a real good fight, a real good final. This one.
Safronova it was who found the answers down the stretch, and that was great credit to her because she was under a lot of pressure from LALBUATSAIHI, who I suspect when she does have time to reflect in a few days' time, given the fact that she was a late substitute, will surely be delighted that she's come away with a silver, though she did get perilously close to grabbing gold. These the shots, the photos being taken right now that'll be appearing on the websites and papers across the world in the coming days. A big achievement, another of the Kazakh champions crowned tonight. And we could be seeing several more, of course, tomorrow with men's final night. Live fly up to super heavy. Make sure you join us for all of that again tomorrow.
Kindly stand for the national anthem of Kazakhstan. رجاء الوقوف للنشيد الوطني لدولة كازاخستان. بسبب وفاة والدة الملاكمة الكويتية نورا المطيري، فليتفضل الأستاذ جابر حزام رئيس الوفد الكويتي لاستلام الميدالية والجائزة المالية.
That was a gold medal, very much well earned, I think it's fair to say, from MILANA Safronova. Just the danger, that fight was slipping away from her. She really had to respond down the stretch. It was a gutsy effort. Looked like the fight could have just been slipping from her grasp, but it was a combination of technique, talent and toughness that really did swing it her way. That was a big turnaround in the final round.
It was. The momentum was definitely with LALBUATSAIHI of India at the end of the second. But SAFRONOVA, as you point out, she found the answers in that third round. That's what's really interesting about these 3-round fights. She talked to boxers taking part in these competitions, boxing at a club level as well as international level, but what is absolutely key is being able to think your way through it. You do get to speak to your corner between rounds, of course, but you've got to figure it out for yourself, basically. That's where the boxing IQ comes in, and all of these fighters have got high boxing IQs.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will start now the medal ceremony of the 69 kilogram weight category. سيداتي وسادتي، سنبدأ الآن حفل تتويج الفائزين لوزن 69 كيلوغرام. We would like to welcome Mr. Hassan Al-Hammadi, UAE Boxing Federation Secretary General and UAE Boxing Federation Board Member, and Mr. Esteban Kovash, AIBA
Just the one bronze medal
General,
winner in the welterweight division. That's Lovlina Borgohain of India, who you see on the right-hand side there. In the centre are winner Valentina KYZAIBAY, on the left-hand side Navbakor Kamidova. This another gold medal for Kazakhstan, and a good performance, wasn't it, from KYZAIBAY? Kamidova, a come-forward fighter, an aggressive fighter, throws plenty of punches. Difficult often to find a remedy for that kind of approach, but KYZAIBAY managed to do that. Outside of the first 30 seconds, where she was maybe caught just a little bit cold, she was a convincing winner.
Yeah, she was good, wasn't she, KYZAIBAY? When she got herself together, maybe not having fought in the previous round, maybe that impacted her upon the first 30 seconds or so, but once she kind of got her rhythm, she boxed particularly well. Pretty classy performance it was in the end from her.
رجاء الوقوف للنشيد الوطني لدولة كازاخستان. There must come a certain pressure as well, boxing in a successful team. It strikes you that
if everyone else is winning a medal, if there are so many gold medal winners in a team camp, with that comes a certain pressure to make sure you're part of that same discussion. And you have to say that KYZAIBAY produced tonight, and not too many worrying moments for her. It was quite a classy performance all round. Got behind her boxing. And after a little bit of a scare with the style of Kamedova, it seemed to unsettle her through the first 30 or so seconds. It didn't take her long for her championship pedigree and her quality to find her the space, to earn her the rhythm in her work, to produce the platform to go and perform.
Just with reference to what you were talking about there, the only Kazakh fighter who didn't win her final came at featherweight. That was VLADISLAVA KUKHTA against SITORA TURDIBEKOVA, and you just kind of wonder how she's feeling, because it's a great achievement to win a silver medal at the Continental Championships, but she'll be looking around at all those teammates with gold medals, and she'll be feeling like she missed out. But as you say, that's the kind of culture you need to engender.
Next up, the medals for the women's middleweight, 75 kilograms. Won by India. A terrific performance from Pooja.
Bronze medal winner, representing Kazakhstan, Marina Volonova.
Yeah, Marina Volonova, who might consider herself a little unlucky not to have been fighting for gold. A bit of a squeaker that was, and she just narrowly lost out.
Silver medal winner,
and Mongolian representation on the podium as well.
And the gold medalist winner, representing India, Pooja Rani.
It's great to see Mongolia represented. We've got some men's finalists coming up tomorrow as well. Iran represented a couple of times tomorrow night as well. Andy, we got so used to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and India, both at this event and at recent tournaments as well. But great to see the wealth being shared, the spoils being handed out elsewhere potentially, and some new countries on the board.
For Iran, it's the first time they've had finalists at the Continental Championships for 16 years, I think, and they've got two through. Mongolia are always well represented, aren't they? Always really good fighters to watch too.
Well, it's been such a great couple of months for India, particularly Indian women's boxing, and Pooja, the latest piece of goldware. Not so much silver and bronze, goldware these days for Indian women's boxing, which really is flourishing right now. And Pooja, champion once again It's 2 out of 2 at these ASBC events at the Asian Championships, and she was pretty classy, Andy, all the way throughout. Right from the start, she got behind her boxing, her footwork was good, technically, tactically, everything was spot on when it mattered.
Absolutely, absolutely. She just looked nice and relaxed, at home in the ring, I think was a phrase I used during the course of the fight. And it's always impressive when you see somebody like that. Yes, the nervous energy will be there. It needs to be there. You need to be on that edge. You need to be ready to go. But you've got to be able to keep that fear, keep those nerves under control, use them to your advantage. Make sure they don't make you tight or apprehensive, and you can see there was nothing apprehensive about her in anything that she did. It'll be interesting to see her go in Tokyo later in the year. This was a great fight, the final at light heavyweight. Really, really good fight. Our penultimate one of this women's finals day. And the winner was Fariza Sholtai of Kazakhstan. She saw off a robust challenge from Sokiba Rusmatova of Uzbekistan. And this is Sawiti of India picking up a bronze medal. She lost to Sholtai in the semi-finals. Rusmatova, who I saw get a bronze at the World Youth Championships at 75 kilos, kicked up another 6 kilos to 81, just 19 years old, and got a silver here. Sholtai was very much a deserved gold medalist. Rusmatova pushed her all the way, but Sholtai showed a good engine and some really good, crisp, accurate punching as well. Probably up there, as you said yourself, for performance of the day, maybe her and Volossenko. Probably, and Puja, maybe those three.
She was good, and we'll see some of those highlights as she celebrates one of the moments of her career. Yeah, she was good. Fariza Sholtai, she was excellent, and that round two will go down as one of the kind of performances, stroke rounds of the entire night, I think it's fair to say. The accuracy, the power punching, the effort that she put in that 3 minutes was absolutely sensational, and only the sheer heart and toughness of Rusmatova kept her in the contest and prevented the referee from stepping in. He did early on in the third to usher a count, but Rusmatova was so tough. But that second round from Sholtai, I think it's fair to say she couldn't have done any more to try and force the referee to stop the fight.
No, she really couldn't. It was really accurate stuff. That was the key to it, really. She's got some snap on those punches, but almost every time she threw that left hand in particular, she landed it. She wasn't always looking to go up to the head. Sometimes she went down to the body. And Rusmatova just managed to take it all without showing any visible ill effects, but did get that standing count in the third in the end.
And let me ask you this, Andy, just going forward for Rusmatova, did she look better and more of a presence down in weight, or is tonight not necessarily a fair way of judging her?
I thought she looked better at 75, to be honest, but having said that, she's stepping up and fighting seniors here, which is obviously a different kind of scenario, but her punch resistance looked just as good at 81 as it did at 75. She looked heavier-handed herself at 75.
And Mrs.
But she took what was given to her by Zoltai, and you don't want to do that in every fight because
it
was tough. It was tough. You know, there were some heavy shots in there, but yeah, maybe she's 19, so maybe 81 is the way forward for her.
Here we have the medals for the women's heavyweight category.
Bronze medalist, winner, representing Uzbekistan, Mughira Abdulleva.
Abdulleva, who lost out to Anupama in the semi-finals. It's a bronze medal for Uzbekistan. And Al-Ziyudi from the United Arab Emirates on home soil, bagging a medal as well. That's something of a moment for her and for this particular part of the world. And the silver going to Anupama, who gave it everything. But KUKHTA, that effort, that front foot, not giving an inch attitude to tonight, bore fruit in the end for her in what was a really compelling, close contest all the way through.
كازاخستان. الرجاء من السادة الحضور الوقوف للنشيد الوطني لدولة كازاخستان.
Well, that was a tough, hard fight, no doubt about it. Those medals for gold and silver, hard-earned tonight for Lazad KUKHTA and Anupama. More medal success for India and, of course, for Kazakhstan. And those are countries that are going to dominate again when we have 10 more contests for you in the men's tomorrow afternoon and evening from 3 o'clock GMT. Andy, we look forward to some big names as well to really get our teeth into tomorrow as well. When you've got the likes of Vasily Levitt and Bakhtir Jalilov among the bigger men, you know you've got some quality and talent to look forward to. We had plenty to entertain us today.
We did. We had 10 good fights there, 10 very entertaining fights. Kazakhstan coming into the day with 9 finalists, Uzbekistan with with 6, India 4, and Indonesia with 1 as well. And Kazakhstan did go on to dominate with 8 wins out of those 9. So it's been an absolutely tremendous day for them. And as we said, those standout performances, probably Rimma Volossenko with her first round stoppage at lightweight against HUSWATun, HASANAH, and Fariza Sholtai with that 3-round war really against Okiba Rusmatova, which was Kazakhstan against Uzbekistan. Really good display from Pooja as well for India in the women's middleweight division. So we've seen a lot of good action today, but as you say, there's loads to look forward to tomorrow. The depth of quality in the ASBC competition in the men's is pretty extraordinary. There are so many fights that kind of jump off the page at you. I guess one that really does a wink at you is super heavyweight, where you've got Jalalov against Kamchibek, Kunkabayev. Those two have met each other plenty of times before. So we'll be back here tomorrow for all of that. 3 o'clock GMT, as Alex said, where we'll have those 10 men's finals at the Asian Elite Boxing Championships, Delhi, Dubai 2021.